Oh my God, that's so funny. I was just sitting down and there was nothing going on. I'm playing with my recorder, looking at photos. I'm supposed to be editing. Nothing's happening. I want to know why I popped in the studio and Sasquatch Wizard said hello. I guess as soon as you pop in the studio, it must send something out, because I wasn't really. I was just testing everything and said maybe I'll do a live real quick and say hello to everybody, because it's been a while. I've been kind of focusing on doing me. Hey Joe, how you doing? Well, like I said, I'm just backing up, and I'm delaying editing tonight. It's what I'm doing. I'm supposed to be editing, and hey Scotty, I'm trying to edit part 2, and I'm not sure where to go. Part 2 can be long. It's a wake up in the morning. You all saw part 1, right? Everybody saw part 1. Nothing really, just a long drive into 3 o'clock drive in to the swamp. To our location is 3 miles back in a corridor. I took my time, unlocking the gate and going in there, and went pretty slow. I showed you all some of it in part 1 of the Green Swamp, and really, hello Beat, and really enjoyed taking my time going in there, and felt more relaxed. I mean, normally it's just like, you get through the gate, Sasquatch Wizard, man, I need to go out with you. I mean, you're what I'm striving to be. I want to put on the war paint and just go out there and sit in the dark. But man, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. But I also realize that the people I'm hanging with now have been out in the woods longer than any of us. And if anyone would know of anything being out there, I guess I'm saying I'm turning into more of a skeptic, every time I go to this place that's supposed to be active, it's not active. So I guess I'm kryptonite. I don't know what's going on, but you go out with me and you're bound to not have any activity. That's how I'm feeling. So I don't know. I'm slightly bummed out, slightly relieved, slightly more at ease. Did better in my tent. Like I said, I finished part 1. Hey Lockbeard, how you doing? Hey y'all, Swamp Ape lovers, Central Florida Bigfoot, Sasquatch Wizard, Adirondacks, Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group, Scotty 5. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. And I always, Scotty, appreciate the 2 drinks. I think I owe you one now. But anyway, everything sound okay? Because like I said, I was just sitting here turning this thing on, and someone said, well, and I went, what? How did they know? I guess it sends a notification out. I don't know what's going on. So part 1 was relaxing, very nice to watch. I certainly enjoyed the video. I appreciate that, B. I debated on here's what I'm dealing with, guys. I'm not going to add drama to something that has no drama. So what you saw in part 1 is what it was. It was a 3 o'clock arrival, a 45-minute, 3-mile drive into the swamp, literally taking my time getting to camp, setting up. I got a new cot tent. I got pretty much testing new gear, new sleeping bag. It was going to be in the mid 40s. I knew I was up for another cold night. I thought I would do better. I did on the second night, but I made a couple mistakes. I haven't tent camped in a long time, guys, and I didn't realize you have to, even though you have a, I put up the cot tent. It has a frame and it has a tent on it, and then it has a rain jacket, right? So I left all the windows sealed, and immediately at 45 degrees and breathing, condensation started forming within the tent. Even though I had a lot of room, it wasn't getting me wet. But I also had my oh my God, this is truth telling. I also had my CPAP machine because I didn't want to be snoring and waking up camp. So, hey Max, how you doing? So I did take my CPAP machine in, and I had it. You'll see it in the shot lane beside me. You'll see my Darth Vader hose and everything. And I went, this is going to be great. I can sleep outside. I don't have to worry about snoring. I don't have to worry about attracting a squat or anything like that. I didn't lay down until like again I don't know. It was early morning. I think I was last to go in. I was laying there asleep and I was laying there asleep, and I am not kidding. It was probably, I didn't go in the tent till probably I think 3:00 the first night, after I did the time lapse and after I did the night vision and after we started the fire and all that stuff. It was just a quiet night, guys. I mean, I can't play that up any differently. I mean, that's what it's like sometimes. And I feel like that's what it's like when you go with me. So I don't know what it is. I was talking to Ron today. I was just saying, I feel like I'm kryptonite out there. I don't know if I'm not susceptible to it. If, these creatures are so smart, they go, hey, stay away from that guy. He's got the big Lumix. I don't know what it is. And I tell you what, I didn't even pull out the Lumix this time. I was shooting. I was really enjoying. Yes, you all can bust me on this. I was really enjoying shooting with the iPhone this time because I did upgrade the iPhone to iPhone 13 Pro, and it's a great B-roll camera. Matt, this is what it's like a lot of the times. And yeah, and I'm just saying, I didn't have, it's not that we didn't hear anything, guys. It's just like I'm not falling to, oh, what was that? That was a Bigfoot. I really deprogrammed myself on the drive in. I was very calm. I think what I'm trying to say is I'm getting comfortable in the woods. So I'm ready to go further. I'm good with the kayaking. I'm good with getting out. I'm good with going off trail. Getting pretty good with navigating. Hanging with people that know what they're doing helps. Learning a lot, just soaking up, knowledge. B says, Matt, those CPAP machines will literally save your life. Glad you have one. Yeah, but the problem is, don't take it camping. It does not work. I bought this $250 battery unit that could run a CPAP, and I thought, I would get a nice sleep, and it helped me go to sleep, and it just didn't. As soon as I looked up and shined my light on the tent, it was just water coming down the side. So anyway, second night, I realized, I started thinking about what I did, and I'm rambling. I'm sorry, but I opened up the vents, and once I opened up the vents, that escaped into the rain jacket area, everything was fine. So the second night was good, but the first night, okay. So I go in there about 2:33 in the morning. I think, I can't remember. I'll have to check the tape, but I went in there and I think I may have fell asleep for like 20-30 minutes. I woke up and I heard breathing outside my tent, like literally like a foot from my tent. It was just, and I will mimic it. It was, but now I'm thinking in hindsight, was it me? I don't know. It was just like, it was 3 breaths. And very quickly I had positioned myself like, hell no, I'm not going to be the guy who lays there afraid with something out, out of the tent. So I reached for the zippers of the tent. The problem is I didn't know where the zippers were. because it was a new tent. So I'm making all this racket. I'm up on one elbow. I'm grabbing the zippers. And what did I do? I zipped it up away from me, way down to my feet. So I had to, it was 30 seconds. And I started getting the zipper. By the time I got out, I'm going out. I'm busting out of the tent. I bust out. I got two lights. I got a headlight. I got a nice, powerful little light. I'm looking all around. I saw nothing. But it spooked me. No, it wasn't a CPAP machine. I was awake, and at that point I had it turned off because I realized what was going on. So I tried to record it. Oh my God. I got 7 minutes of blackness recording because I didn't turn on a light. But before I turned on the light, because I thought I heard something. I guess I thought I heard something before the breathing, because I got like 7 minutes of black recording. But what did I do? Let me turn that off. So what did I do? I put the phone like this on my chest, and I'm laying there in total black, trying to record. I had the recorder out, and I'm trying to record what's going on. And what happens? Guys, I have a mechanical valve. So all you hear is my mechanical valve, and it's really loud, and it doesn't even sound right. I mean, matter of fact, I played it for Ron. He goes, dude, that just doesn't sound right. So I don't know if I was scared. It was literally like bump, bump, da, 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 bump, bump, da, bump, 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 da, bump. It was like a drum rhythm or something. So I don't know what the hell was going on. I haven't even analyzed the audio yet, but it was so freaking funny. But I heard something. I recorded black. I heard 3 breaths. By then it's, I think, 4:30, 3:30. I don't know. I bust out of the tent and I'm done. I'm not going to go to sleep. So I realized I wasn't going to go to sleep that night. So I get out, I get on the tent, and oh God, there's another thing I did. It was really stupid. I parked outside of the circle, the wagon wheel circle. Even though I was still with people, I parked outside the circle and backed my truck up to the woods just to be tough, get myself tough. I'm ready for this, right? And if you step out of my truck, you're 3 feet into the tall grass and 20 feet into palmettos that you can hide behind. I was backed in, and wasn't really a good idea. So that probably spooked me in itself. So 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'll get moving here. I go to start the fire, and there's just a little bit of kindle burning. So, I went, oh, fire skills, let's go. So I started building the fire. It took me way longer because I didn't know Joey had some kindles set out. So on the back of Joey's truck is a big bundle of Kindle, which I didn't see. So I'm doing it with big logs and fanning, not big logs, but the smallest logs I could find, and fanning, and maybe one paper towel I tried near the end when I actually had it going. Oh my God. But it was funny. And within about 4:30, I had a blazing fire going. It was great. And I thought somebody would wake up and join me, and no one did. And I went, okay, here I am. They're asleep, and so I had about 3 hours sitting around a campfire by myself, and it was dead freaking quiet. I think I heard one fish jump. I think I heard one pine cone fall. I think I heard a dog or something, way out there. Man, nothing spooked me. I was very comfortable. I was walking out, about 30, 40 feet to the rivers, hanging out. It really had a good time. It was super quiet. It was like the first time I went there and had a campfire with somebody. It was the same exact thing. Nothing happened. And this is a place where there has been activity for everybody else. So I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on. I don't know what to think. It's me. There's a vibe. I don't know. If anybody has any suggestions, email me here. But wait, I saw what does that mean? Check your message, fam. Private? You can't be private unless you're in. I'm not sure what that means, Scotty. If you were that close to good cover, then Sasquatch could have easily slipped away and laid flat to the ground without you being able to see it. You may very well have had one right next to you. Maybe, I did hear distinct 3 breaths, and I do not think they were mine. But again, and I had the wherewithal to start recording. I don't even know if I can play this. I haven't even, I really have not even listened to it. I know it's a video of all black. Let me just see if I can even find it. It's not even. Let me see here. And this is a trip that Alex and Tate and Eli from Small Town Monsters stopped by. So, that was a blast. Oh my gosh, did I take them off my phone? No, I didn't take them off my phone. Okay, you saw the ending of part 1 where I'm in the tent, and I said I don't know why I'm doing this, because I was last to go to bed again. Oh, here it is. 8 minutes and 36 seconds of recording. Let me I'm such a dork. Let me just see if I can even get it going here. What is this? Okay, now it levels out. That's my heart valve. But before it was like tapping, right? That is not normal. I think I need to see my cardiologist. I don't know what's going on. Oh my God, I'm turning red. That was so funny. But anyway, 8 minutes I laid there spooked. And then when I heard the breathing, I jumped up. Okay, nothing there. Did a campfire. Had a great time. About 5:30, I said, wow, I could do another time lapse, catch the sun come up. And it was just too cold. Guys, I was freezing. And I went and got back in the sleeping bag. I got a brand new 30-degree bag. I was back in the bag. I'm an idiot. I'm like giving too much here. I didn't want to put all this in part 1 because, and then I thought, well, I'll go back out in the woods and just record me saying this. And I thought, no, I'll just do the live in between part 1 and part 2, and it brings you up to speed. But so I was up by myself. Ron came out for like 20, 30 minutes. Not even that, probably 15 minutes. Went back in. I went, I'm thinking, don't go back in. There's a Bigfoot by my tent. No. But he went back in, and I said, well, crap. I got like 2 hours of sleep probably. Let me go back in. So I went back in, and man, it was down to probably 45, 44 then. I had zipped up the tent, but I left the sleeping bag wide open. I crawled in it, and it was like a bucket of ice. It is literally like Florida, you guys, 45 degrees in Florida is different than 45 degrees up north. 45 degrees and humidity is like jumping in an ice cold cooler. And that's what it was like. And I'm going to go back to the chat because I see you guys are buzzing. So I don't know if you're just saying hello or laughing at me, but either way, it's all good. Let me get it off Sasquatch Wizard there. There you go. So I get back in the tent, and I was there 10, 15 minutes. I was not warming up, and I went to the truck again. So another tent fail. So that's 3 nights I bailed to the truck about 5 in the morning, 4:30, 5 in the morning, both times, and cranked up the heat and sat in the truck. Oh my God. Okay. So the second night, I'm trying to figure out the tent situation. I realized, oh, there's vents in the tent. I didn't even see the vents in the tent. On my tent, it's a cot tent. It's a jumbo cot tent. It's really nice. So at the top where it comes up, there's 2 vents on each side. Once I peeled those off and rolled them back and realized that was the issue, next night was perfect. I slept good. Everything was fine. No issues the second night. I woke up again at like 5:36. I saw the sun come up. Nobody was up yet, and went back to sleep. I think I woke up at like 7:30. I had a good night's sleep the second night. So I figured out the tent issue. It's just, if you haven't, again, whether it's camera gear, tent gear, or whatever, you got to test it. Don't go out and and snow for you guys up north, being a city boy like me and trying to figure this stuff out. Someone told me, I think it was Ron, somebody told me, dude, just set it up in your backyard. Like, we got a fairly cool evening tonight and just get used to stuff, and I didn't do that. And so that's my fault. But so that's the tent deal. So I got it all set up. The tent is working fine. I know how to vent it. It probably work with my CPAP if I wanted to. I don't think I'd park outside the circle again, but I was trying to man up there. I don't know if I'll do that again. That was kind of weird. It was spooky. But I'm glad I did it. That went good. What else? Morning came. So that was Wednesday night. Guys, the Florida Bigfoot Conference was Saturday. So I ended up going to that, by the way. I said I wouldn't, but I went. It was good. Yeah. No, Judy, it's just a little goatee here. I've always actually had that many moons ago. So I just I kind of did that for work. But what was I saying? Oh, Florida Bigfoot Conference was Saturday. This was all Wednesday night. Thursday, we got up, and this is going to be part 2. We got up and instantly we did a kayak trip. So that was awesome. It was just Ron and I. Florida Lone Wolf had to sit back. So you're going to see part 2 of the kayak trip. Where I'm debating is part 2 also, day 2 is also a night walk, because Alex and Tate and Eli got there about 3-4 o'clock, I think. They came up from the south. They were down in the Everglades. So they came in, we stood around, and then I think I released some photos on my Instagram and maybe the Facebook, I can't remember, of Alex, Tate, and Eli. And then Rob Robertson came by, and then Rob brought a friend too, and I'm totally blanking, but yeah. So we had a full celebrity camp. It was pretty cool. Lots of fun. I had the 270 blind up. I was waiting to start the show because I was going to run that video, but the StreamYard won't play MOV files. So I was going to actually play raw clips again and realize that I have to convert all the files, and I can't do that. So it's just me yapping. So I wanted to show you guys that. But part 2 will be the kayak trip. And then I'll show Small Town Monsters, Alex and crew hanging around camp, and their guests. And then, hang on. What was that? That was yeah, I did post that on Instagram. And Lyle Blackburn, that was who I was. Sorry, Lyle, I was blanking on you. Lyle was there, and I showed him my 270 blind, so that was cool. Showed him the Lumix on the gimbal. That was cool. So a lot of sharing information. They went off a couple different places. We stayed there. Ron and I had just finished the kayak trip. By then, nightfall, campfire. Oh my gosh, campfire. I don't think any of that recording can ever be played. Let's just say, man, let's just say boys will be boys. But that was a campfire that will go down. I will never forget that campfire. That was probably the most fun I've ever had in my life. If you've never met Tate or camped with Tate, oh my gosh, that guy is crazy wild. He's a lot of fun. We had a lot of good laughs. We had a really good fire going, and then we went on a night walk. So we went on a great night walk, mile or so up the road. Tate does his famous scream. I think I posted it on Facebook and Instagram. I had my hand over the microphone of the phone, so trust me, it was 5 times louder than what you heard. He just does this like, I think Max or somebody said, it's almost like he ran into a spider and went, ah! It's just super loud. And I almost dropped my phone, and I'm not kidding. I even though he said he was going to do it, I backed up. I hit him with a red light and I said, go. I almost dropped my phone. I just did not expect that to come out of somebody. And you cannot hear it because I had my phone again over the back where the microphone is in my hand. But it was like, like it was in a valley in upstate New York. It just echoed. And I've never heard anything in the swamp do that. I didn't even know you could have an echo in the swamp. I heard 3 distinct yells after its yell. It was crazy fun. So that hike. So that's day 2. So that's going to be canoeing on part 2 and the night hike. And then I can break the kayak and night hike into part 2 and part 3 because they're both kind of long, and I don't want to go too long. So I may do that. I'm not going to show any of the conference because that's not my footage to show. So I think Alex and his crew is doing something on the Florida conference. But I did shoot some footage and offer it to them, so that was fun. Rob Robertson was in camp. They did an interview of Rob. Lyle Blackburn, they did an interview. I got an interview, which I was happy to do. I mean, I'm only 2 years into this, so I'm honored to be even considered. Whether or not it makes the film, I don't know. But I know he did the gentleman down south at the Swamp Ape Museum. Yeah, I'm terrible with names. But they did him and probably others as they worked their way back. But man, it was a ball, and we're going back in soon. And I got Max Powers, if he's still in the chat. Max is coming down, and I got Mike Tactical Bigfoot Research, Mike Ann coming down, and we're going to try something I've never tried before, and that is probably with a skeptic of some sort. Not skeptic, a card reader, a psychic, I should say. And we're going to do some of that, and that's going to be fun. So lots of stuff coming up within the next 4 weeks, guys. So I got to get this part 2 going on Sunday. So that's my story. I know that's a lot. Let me just cruise back in chat here. I'm gonna see if I can go back to the beginning. Just make sure. Sorry, just bear with me here. If you all said something, I apologize. So Scotty, Joe, how you guys be? Gotcha. Lockbeard, appreciate you coming. Let's see. Roll down. North Alabama Cryptid. Hey, great. Welcome. Max, he would like to have some spooky music. I just don't want to go there. I'm going to show the research for what it is. I'm not going to add drama to it, but there's too many people doing that. Everybody's doing that already. So I'm just going to run my stuff straight up. Unless I got to cover something, I'll add some music, but I'm just going to, the night vision is what night vision is. That's how it looks in the swamp. You're trying to find those long 50, 60 yard windows to shoot in. You're trying to shoot that palm stand, tree stand where something could walk through it, behind it, or hide behind it. But you also want a little peek of 20, 30, 40 yards behind that. And that's what I had. And I know it's a long shot, that static camera, but I think that's where the research, in my opinion, should go. I think that's going to be much, much more effective, being in camp and running infrared night vision out of the camp and do that. So anyway, that's my plan. Just trying to be a little different. We'll go from there. No, I'm not losing the faith, Lockbeard. It's just like I'm kryptonite. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. But I am becoming more skeptical. So anyway. And Sasquatch Wizard Adirondack. Man, I appreciate your videos. You have a lot of fun, and you do the solo thing so well. I'm watching you. I'm picking up a lot of tips from you, so I appreciate it. So if you guys aren't following, if you're not following him, man, you should be. He's a lot of fun to watch. So I appreciate you being here. Max, take a nap. Go. I got something planned for you. Don't worry about it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what it's like a lot of times. I think okay, this is where I was the last time. So now I'm getting into the new stuff. Okay. Man, I appreciate all you guys being here. It's a good little impromptu crowd. Okay. Did I read this one? Yeah. And then so Bigfoot scared everything else away. Are you trying to scare me, Max? God, Scotty. I don't know what's going on with my messenger here. Oh, hang on. You know, there's so many messengers that I wouldn't be able to find it anyway. I don't see anything. You know how you have the iPhone text, and then you have the messenger, and then if you have 3 Facebook accounts, all of a sudden you got to. Yeah. Anyway. So, let me do something here. Copy to clipboard. Okay. Links in the chat. If I know you, I will pop you on. If I don't, I'm not going to pop on someone just to be trolled. So, you know, but if anybody has any suggestions of why I'm kryptonite, I'm really bummed out. You can tell. Don't get discouraged, Matt. It took me 43 years before a situation happened that made me say, "Holy shit!" There one is. I may never see one again. Dude, I don't have 43 years, so you know I'm old. But I appreciate it. I hear you loud and clear. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen every time you go out. If people are trying to go out, I don't think. You know, put it this way: I'm watching less and less YouTube too. I used to watch. Wow, did you see what I did? Oh, hang on, I just lowered my chair. Let's do that again. Watch real closely. Oh God, what an idiot! I put my legs back up on the chair and it went down. But I'm watching less and less channels. I am concentrating on my game plan, me going out, editing film. I have not been on in 3 weeks, as you all know. I've been offered a couple things. I just want to lay low and do my thing and not get sidelined. But I was going somewhere with that, but for the life of me, I can't remember. Being old. I can already tell. I think I know what's going on with a couple things. One of my knees. You know, I used to go out with Tim T and that group a lot. I think our vision's changed a little bit, and they do a lot of walking, guys. I mean, they're out every weekend and they're walking in that Florida sugar sand, and it's a hard 5 miles. And I noticed that when I went out and did that, I was paying for it for about 3 days. So I think I may know what's causing that, and I think it may be a vitamin D deficiency. And I don't know how I ever had or came up with a vitamin D deficiency, but if you look it up and what the side effects are, it's joints. It's joint pain, and my knees are killing me. If I sit in the kayak, I have to have Ron pull me out. I mean, it's because my knee, if I sit in a position like at work, like I'm doing now when I hit the chair, I tuck my legs up under me. I have this bad habit of not sitting up straight and putting my legs out. And that first 5 or 6 steps, I'm in massive pain. And I'm seeing that when I hike. And so that's what's going on. So that's the reason I'm being hard on myself. That's the reason why I decided to go back to 1 or 2 or 3 people into a way that I believe that's going to be successful, and not just going through the woods as a large group. I think using the blind, using the kayaks, using the night vision like I'm trying to use it with static cam is going to do just as good as those guys. and a lot easier on my body. Because I probably, I maybe I'm selling myself short. Maybe I'm just really hard on myself, but I'm 62. So, I probably got 3 or 4 or 5 years. I don't know. I don't see myself going out in the woods solo at 70. So I don't have 10 years in this, and that's why I do stuff for 3 months and I move on. If I'm not successful in 2-3 months, I move on. I'm not like Joe. I don't have 10, 20, 30, 40 years to put into this. So yeah, am I being impatient? A little bit. Hey, Mopar, I see you lurking. You're always welcome. Anyway, I got someone popped in here. Let me see what's going on here. What's happening?
Hey, man.
Are you here to chew me out?
No, man. No, I'm here to talk you off the ledge, man.
No, I'm not on the ledge. I'm just, it's just nothing happened.
Well, you know what, Matt, though? Look, man, don't get discouraged, man. Don't get discouraged. Like I said, my thing, it took forever and ever and ever, and I could have gone my whole life. There's so many of them out there that have gone their whole lives, man, and never had that confirmation for themselves, man. And I mean, other than the fact that there's no Bigfoot in Florida, but
right.
No, I'm kidding.
That could be true. That could be true.
Well, you know what? You guys may. Hey, look, I don't know, man. I just do that to bust your ass when I say that.
Oh, that's fine.
People tell me that all the time. There's no Bigfoot in New York. I'm like, okay, yeah.
I did run across this.
It might not be.
I did run across this.
Number one.
Wait a minute. There's proof and research right here. A friend of mine, Patrick Vaughn, did send me this that pretty much proves there is no Bigfoot in Georgia. See the map? They go around Georgia. They even take a kayak and go out into the Atlantic and go around. So, say what you want about Florida. But, hey, I will tell you, I think Alex and Tate and Eli
I was going to ask you questions about that.
We're surprised a little bit about Florida. I think they were commenting on where we were being right up there into the camp of the Patty sighting. They really were impressed with the green swamp and the area we were sitting in. So, hey, I got another one join us. I'm going to go pop in my buddy here.
Hey, there he is.
Hey, going on, gentlemen? There's the man, the legend.
The legend.
I was, you know what? Hey, hang on for a minute. Go back and put face paint on, and then I'll put you in. No, just kidding. When you did your face paint in the tree, I just went, "Oh my God, this is like above." I got a good laugh out of that. It was so funny. But you're out there doing your thing. You're cutting down reflection. I'm watching a lot of night moving of what do you call it, Army Rangers or whatever, using night vision and how they work and wrapping up buckles and how they silence themselves. I'm really doing a lot of crazy, ridiculous homework on that, like covering watch faces if you move it and your eye watch glows, putting black tape over it and all the things, not setting a flare up here and turning it on, but waiting till it's on your eye before you turn it on. So I'm picking up a lot of things like that. But anyway, back to you. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
It's just an impromptu. What do you got? What do you got going on? Why am I kryptonite?
Well, I to be honest, I think everybody probably experiences what you're experiencing, and not just with Bigfoot, but fishing, hunting, many things, even sports players. They go on dry runs and you start thinking to yourself, man, is it ever going to happen? Like great baseball players that are on a bad streak, can't get a hit. But then all of a sudden things turn around and start going your way. So I say just keep doing what you're doing, striving to be better, sharpening your skills. And then, it's going to happen when you least expect it. And all of a sudden, bam, everything's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look, whether or not I say, I don't know. But you know what? The fact is, I mean, Florida does have habitat that can very well support a large primate. So
Oh,
I mean,
I have no doubt about that.
you have to keep.
I'm not doubting that a bit.
You have to keep. Well, we know it supports small primates because apparently there are some monkeys loose in Florida. Apparently, but yeah, you just got to keep going, man. And just keep doing what you're doing, Matt. I mean, it's every, like you said, and I said in the chat earlier, man. I mean, look, man, that happens to me a lot here, man. You're never guaranteed that you're gonna run into a Sasquatch every time you go out, man. And
yeah,
I mean, I've been in the areas where I actually had my encounter, and I have not seen hide or hair or trace of him being in that area at all since then. So, I mean,
Right.
And of course, if he's out there now leaving footprints all over the place, I don't know about it because there's like 4 or 5 feet of snow on the ground, and I'm not traipsing through that shit in the woods. I'm sorry, I'm too old. And I can't believe that you said you're 62, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Holy shit! I just turned 58, and you look younger than me.
Yeah, that came up at camp. I said that I don't smoke or drink, so but
you haven't treated your body like an amusement park.
no, I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest of 8, so my brothers and sisters.
I am too, actually. I'm the youngest of 8.
Yeah, my brothers and sisters pretty much ruined life for me. Not only did I get all their shitty, stinky clothes, but
Get all the hand-me-downs.
they wrecked all. They did the wheelies on the motorcycle. So guess what? Matt didn't get a motorcycle. They did the drugs and got busted, and all that. Guess what? I was watched even more. But to tell you the truth, I just never really got in trouble. I just kept looking up at my older siblings and went, "Wow, they're stupid. Am I going to end up like that?" I remember turning 18. I was going to a commuter college here, University of South Florida. And I remember going, because I was still playing. I mean, I was still camping. Back then I knew how to camp. I remember, but that was a long time ago. We were camping. We were going down the Keys. We were scuba diving. I was cave diving. I was in college. I was studying archaeology. I was like Mr. Jacques Cousteau and doing a lot of activity. I remember I turned like 18, 19. I went, oh shit, I'm graduating, in a couple of years. And what am I going to do? I'm still like being a kid. I wasn't even thinking job. So, I went, oh, okay, I'm going to be a professional photographer. And off I went, and I did. And I've had a great career. I'm hanging in there, but it's hard to make it to 65. I just don't, I'm ready to, I want to do this full time. I'm trying to figure out that nugget. Work is just getting harder and harder to get up to go to, because I have so many interests I want to do. And, and there's a lot of us like that in Florida. I was just talking to someone today in chat, and he's going, man, retirement can't come soon enough because they have the same vision and plans of wanting to do something with the Bigfoot or that sort of thing. But
I got to tell you, my experience with that scenario, I don't even think even my own mom, who's been experiencing the whole golden years, retirement, and having all the time on their hands to do whatever she ever wants to do,
right,
ever wanted to do. My father, the same thing. He retired. And after a year, or within 2 years, they're looking for a job. They're looking for something to do to keep themselves busy. They just said, I've already done everything I wanted to do, and now I'm sick of sitting around. I got to get out and go do something that's constructive.
Yeah, I that is not going to happen to me. I have no problem with getting a part-time job. I have no problem with, I just want to get out of the rat race and work at a Starbucks and go squatching, man. I mean, if anything, I could do it if I could find something to do.
Hey, you know what?
The medical insurance, that's the key.
And Paulie T gets on me about this all the time. DoorDash, man. That's what I do. I go DoorDashing part-time. I work whenever I want, and then the rest of the time I'm doing my squatch stuff. So I'm still making some extra money, but I have plenty of time for squatching too. And so, hey, man, it's something worth looking into for that kind of thing, man. It's great. But look, Matt, what you were saying, man, you know, the fact
What?
that you say that your skepticism is growing, and that's okay, man. You know what? But that's a good thing
Yeah,
that
it
you're
is.
not going out there with your
Oh,
brain
yeah.
automatically primed. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in a Bigfoot hotspot. Everything's going to be Bigfoot. It's a good thing that you're not going out there with that kind of thought in your head. You're going out there this way. You're able to go out there and you stay objective. And when you actually find evidence, you know what you're looking at. You know, you're not just like, woo, Bigfoot on the brain. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah. And what I'm seeing also is that what most people will stop and stare at and say, and analyze footprints. Man, in 5 seconds, I can look at that and move on.
Yeah, well, look, first of all,
It's ground pareidolia, man. It's just like there's not.
sometimes it can be, yeah.
If it's not good enough for me to cast, and I can't see a freaking foot and 5 toes or 3 toes or 4 toes or one bent off to the right, I'm not going to cast it. But I'm sure not going to stand there and say, "Oh my God, you know, looking at this could be a print. That could be a toe. That move on, man. You're wasting my time." And
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and that's how fast I move through the woods now.
That's
Or
absolutely.
dismiss and move on. And you know, maybe that's a bad thing. And I wanted to talk to
No, that's not a bad thing, Matt.
It's not a
No.
bad thing. Look,
And it's not
first of all,
unnatural for anybody to go through that.
okay, well
first year,
that's what I wanted to ask you of all
No.
people, because I see you're out there and I know you're a tracker and I know you
I
know
had to rapidly get a hold of myself within the first year and a half. I mean, I went through the phases of wow to holy cow, they're everywhere. Look at that stick snap, this, that. And then it wasn't until I almost got to a point where, how can I say this? You know, I got to a point where I actually was watching one of my videos one time, and I had did it like a week or so prior, and I was in the truck and I was watching the video, and I'm like, you know, you're showboating, man. Like that's bullcrap. Like you're showboating. I'm like, no, that's not me, man. I'm a professional. I run a company. I'm a professional person, and I just realized, don't be living in a fantasy world. You know, it's, you get a hold of yourself.
Yeah.
And
your paradigm will
it happens.
change.
I'll show you right here. I'll show you.
Your paradigm will change so many times over the years of what you used to think and what you found out since then, and it will change, and there's nothing wrong with that. And yeah, that one,
okay,
it broke.
So this is the only foot that I have seen that made me feel very confident with the backstory that this was a Bigfoot track.
Right.
Now,
they're hard to find, man. They're not easy to find. Perfect one.
Broke it. But if I found this in the ground again, I can still say that with the pictures that I have, the story behind it, where it was, and this is a hard track to make out, but if I pointed out some important things on this, it would be easier, you know, to see. But when I come across impressions in the ground that are, you know, I don't know how to, you know, that are that size, I'll briefly take a look at them. Yeah. And there was only one back this fall up on the hill up behind my house up there that I posted a video to. And I even thought, should I even post this on my channel? Because all it was an impression in the ground that was about the size of what a Bigfoot would look like.
Right.
But I had my daughter with me, and I was showing her, and it was important to her. And I wasn't trying to be a professional scientist about the matter. It was more, my child's here. Hey, Camille, check this out. Hey, look, everybody, we found this impression in the ground. Yeah. I didn't go on about it like this is probably definitely a Bigfoot track, but yeah, in a very short amount of time, even with you, Matt, I've seen you really get a hold of yourself and become very well rounded and be able to recognize what direction that you want to head because
Right.
you care about what you're putting out.
Right.
Where it's so easy in this to be watching what other people are doing and be like, I want to be like that. I want to be important. And when you find
Yeah.
something out in the woods, you want to show everybody, oh, check this out.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to refrain.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think you're doing a great job, Matt. You know, I mean, your time will come just like everybody else's. And when it happens and it's authentic and real, it's gonna come with a lot of weight, and you know, it'll be true.
I appreciate
And
that.
even with the impressions, there's a lot that goes into it. Because up here, I can tell you the honest truth. Up here, you very rarely find a Bigfoot has perfectly stepped in the mud and left you a track that where you go, holy crap, the Holy Grail, and you hear angels sing, ah, and you'd be like, I'm gonna cast this and send it to Meldrum. You don't find those, man. You do not find them. Very often you do find impressions,
Yeah.
like Sasquatch was just talking about. You do find impressions that generally match what would fit a Sasquatch. Now, the important thing is are there more of them? Because you can still, even if they're impressions, you can still follow a trail. Now, it's still important that if you think it could be, well, then you get down to, okay, well, which direction it's going in? Well, how long is the stride? Etc. You know, I mean, that stuff, right?
You got to reverse track it and start heading, you know, a lot of thinking up here. There's going to be proof that that size of a creature came from somewhere. You've got to be able to find some leaf rustle. And if
Where
you
did
were
it come
right on it, you know, you could see some spring back if it was very recent. You know, I mean, that gets into tracking, which I'm not a professional tracker. I've watched shows. I've learned as much as I can, as fast as I can.
Right.
And it gets me, but, you know, I don't have no 10, 15 years as a professional tracker.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean,
but you got to go back up and find more than just that track, like you're saying, Joe.
I know tracks from tracking when I was hunting as a kid. I know how to track an animal, but I'm not a professional tracker.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, and I'll tell you the truth, if I come across a perfectly imprinted freaking track, the first thing that's going to pop into my head is this a hoax?
Yep.
Because if it's too perfect, I'm like, is this a hoax?
Yeah,
and then I do have to look at it.
I do that too. That's the first thought that enters my mind too. Is what's the possibility of it? Now, when I was out with Max Powers and we did the camp out, we did find solid no pareidolia. They were tracks on the edge of a swamp that we followed for quite a while. Now, they were not big though. And so I have very, very reliable knowledge of a person here in Central Florida that has seen people coming out of the swamp barefoot, families of them.
Okay.
And it's called earthing. EARTHING, earthing. It's being connected to the earth. And I had to Google it. And I've heard this story more than 2 or 3 times now. So, and they looked like size 10, size 11, maybe some smaller ones tracks that we were following. And again, I probably didn't get it as excited as I should have because, you know, they're not these ginormous prints that everyone's finding, but I know people finding prints, you know, a lot in Florida, but I'm just not buying it.
There's juveniles too, so they're not all going to be ginormous.
I know. But they're not going to be so shaped with all the toes together you know, they're going to be that wild look where, you know, you'd find that 11-year-old kid trying to put his, you know, boot in a shoe and it ain't going to fit.
Well, if it
So
looks too human, it probably is human.
exactly. And I just put simple logic to it, you know.
It would probably be a bit easier to follow those tracks and pick up on that it would be a human. Especially after you follow them for a bit of a distance. So even if an earther decides to just really get into nature, be it walking at the edge of a swamp, once they start traveling a quarter of a mile, what terrain did they choose to go through? I mean, if they choose to go through some stuff that, you know, you'd be crazy to walk through in barefoot or head right out into a swamp, he's not an earther trying to enjoy being stuck to Mother Earth. You're just an idiot walking out through a snake-infested alligator pit, probably Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Or you're begging for death.
Right, or a complete crazed idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, could be on bath salts or something out there running around butt naked.
Yeah, but in those situations, if you get a good enough print like that, Matt, of course, those situations is when you are going to take a minute to analyze it. And if you find any track or any footprint that's good enough, as you say, to cast, and you can clearly see that there's an arch, that's not a Bigfoot track.
That's interesting. You brought that up. And
well, I know people that will argue with that.
And humans, well, I don't know. All the ones I've ever
there's
seen
flat-footed humans.
Don't have. Oh, I know there's flat-footed humans, but that doesn't.
And you can't say there's no, you know, arched Bigfoot.
Well, they don't really have an arch though. And
who can say that? Who can say that?
Meldrum. Foot morphology, man.
When you guys look at this, I've never had a chance really to. How can I?
Oh, hold on. Let me. How can I do this? Oh, there you go.
Now it was broken. So, again, is that I'm looking? Oh, because it's reversed when I'm looking at it. That's why I'm getting confused. So this is the front. All right, let me make this real quick. I want to explain something here.
That's better. What you're doing there.
This right here,
a toe.
Okay, these are the toes.
I see it. Yeah.
In here, this is just a bunch of stuff that I had to bunch up to try to get some material to cover the thin spot in the middle. So this isn't the toes out here. You'd have to cut this right off.
I got you.
And you can almost see a toenail was stuck right in the mud, right in there. And there's another one right here. Okay, but what I wanted to ask was, so that mid-tarsal break
would be about where the mid-tarsal is, yeah.
That's what I want. That's what every time I see somebody having a conversation and they bring out the diagrams, that is when I look at this, makes me feel a little more confident that dip for the mid-tarsal break is seemingly in the correct spot.
Right. And usually where it's going to be in the footprint is going to be a little hump.
Yeah.
In the footprint. That's why you get that concavity in the cast is where the print is, because on the ground, it's where their foot, the front of the foot pushes back that ridge of dirt and shows where that is. So
Joe,
it does have to do with morphology of the foot. Yeah.
Joe, didn't you had a diagram of that on your show tonight, didn't you?
I did, between a human foot and a Sasquatch foot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I saw that and how it was pressing into the ground.
Yeah.
And how it related to from the toes to the heel, where that dip would be. And that's why I pulled this back out tonight, because I was taking a look at it. I'm so upset that I broke it. But then again, I look at that and I think, you know what? It has the basic structure, but it's no blockbuster piece of evidence. So I'm thinking about trying to attach it where it's broken.
Yeah.
Because where it's broken is where that dip is. So I was thinking about cutting 2 little slots in both sides and take a leather belt or something, or a tie down strap, and then slide it in the slots on both sides and put epoxy in there so that it had flexibility to it.
Right.
And then I was gonna take and say, you know what, I gotta cut that front off so it doesn't deter, and then maybe even paint. I have a what's called a flex sprayer that we use to paint custom trim in the house.
I wouldn't do any of that.
No, just
No.
leave it.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
archaeological world, you don't touch that. And when you do prints anyway, you're supposed to pour a good inch outside the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what you left there is exactly the way it should look. There's a lot
Mhm.
of people cutting it off at the toes, and that's actually the wrong way to do a print.
Yeah.
You need to keep the
Right.
cast material past that, just like you had it.
Mm.
So I would not mess with it at all. You just
Well, I
really,
did.
it'd be
so-
like messing with the film and
Yeah.
and you know, color correcting it to the point and blurring it. I mean, if you're doing it to show 3 different ways you can view something and you go back to
Mhm.
the original, fine. But once you do that to that cast, you've destroyed it.
And I have brainstormed that
Yeah.
whole philosophy.
Yeah, don't mess with it.
And I thought, is it that important? Is it that worth it? And I was thinking, I kind of
Yeah.
almost wanted to paint it in, literally, like what would the bottom of a Bigfoot
Yeah.
foot look like, and really literally paint it with
Very-
skin colors and stuff, and try to
Yeah.
use the contour of it.
Well,
If you wanted to clean it up, make a mold of it and do it on the mold, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But Max is saying if they are upright bipeds, they need arches.
That's not
How do I
actually
view the
true.
chat? Like, this is only the second time I've ever been on anybody's show, but how can I see the chat on my end? Am I doing something wrong here?
No, you can't see the chat.
I
You can't.
I can.
because I see both you guys are
Depends.
looking.
Are you on a computer?
Yeah, I'm on a PC. And
Well, to the right of your screen there, on your right of your screen, should say private chat and comments.
yeah, I see that.
Well, click on comments at the top.
And your world will be opened.
Oh, isn't that something?
I
Isn't
know,
that
right?
All right.
You know, I found a great way to actually,
Thank you.
one of the best ways to actually cast prints. If you find some prints that are castable, this is one trick that I learned that it took me years to actually learn it, because I came up with some really cruddy, I mean, they were good prints, but I mean, they weren't exactly, you know, a lot of overpour, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best ways to actually cast a print, if you find a good castable print, is you take I don't even know how to.
Yeah, Mr. Lee.
It's almost like racetrack, but you know the flat PVC.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
flat. You
Yeah.
cut a piece of that about yay long or so, and depending on, of course, you know what your size of your print is, you take that and it's only got the piece of PVC is only got to be about that wide
Okay.
or so, and you make a circle around. You stick that in the ground
Okay.
around
All
the print,
All right. Yeah.
right? So you got this thing, and then you fill that
Mm-hmm.
with your plaster of Paris, which is what I use.
That's
lot of
what my
people
son said the night when we were pouring this. In
A
the
lot
video,
of
he
a lot
said,
of people use hydrocal and stuff like that,
Okay.
but I'm old school. I always use plaster of Paris, and
Yeah.
you fill that little oval up where
Mhm.
that's inside the print. You fill that up and let it dry, man. And then when it's dried, you pull that up and you turn it over. You got a perfect print. There's no
There it is.
overpour.
Right.
You know, and yeah, so that's one of the best ways to
Yeah.
actually cast a print, if you can do something like
Yeah.
that. Put a
Yeah.
border basically around the print.
Yeah. And I'm using the 3D app now. I'm not even going to stop.
That is freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
Mike
Yeah.
Hand has that 3D crap where he can 3D a footprint. Oh my, we found one that was a possible print out where I was at, and he 3D that thing, and I was like, holy crap, really? You've got this shit going on, man. I'm like, wow.
That is wicked cool.
I'm like, dude, that is like almost having it's all I like having casts just because I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, look at my cast, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm more
absolutely.
interested. I'm more
Yeah.
interested.
That is cool.
Yeah,
It's
and
true.
the reason why I upgraded is that the 13 does have LiDAR, so it opens the door to so much more than what you can do with the
my
measurements
God.
of the print.
And you said
So
Mike's coming down
yeah,
there.
yeah. Let me pop Max on here real
Oh,
quick.
that's cool.
Man.
Hey, what's up, Max?
Hey, how are we,
Dude.
guys?
Doing
The
good.
way he
Yeah.
can 3D the whole area.
Yeah, Mike
And-
showed that to
Oh
me
my
on the
God,
working.
that's incredible.
Yeah, on the working together video, Mike was down here last year, and he's going to come down again. And this time we're going out with a psychic, and we're going to do some, tarot cards and more on the.
Oh, is that the lady psychic that he's with?
Not Christy,
no.
someone else.
Oh, not Christy. Oh,
but
okay.
That's
we're
interesting.
yeah. So we're gonna, I'm not into that at all, but I'll try anything once.
That's interesting. What the hell? It's an adventure, right?
But
As
I'm
long as
sure
they
the
know
hell
what they're
not
doing,
getting
it's,
anything. Nothing's happening with what I've been doing, and it's not, I don't think I'm in any wrong places. I think I really think I have some good areas, and not just one or two or three. I think there's 4 places where I can go that I feel pretty confident that it's a good environment. But it's just getting out enough. I'm still working. I only got 4 weeks vacation. I got to do 2 or 3 weeks with the wife, and well, I want to do 2 or 3 weeks with the wife, but just getting out. I mean, like, I know Max is going to be popping down here too soon, and
Cool.
I'm not going to be
in
able.
a few days.
Yeah, so I'm
Get
only
out of
going
the
to
Northeast.
Yeah, I'm only going to be able to
there.
get out on the weekends, because of the time I've already starting to book. And I got Mike coming down really, really soon. Actually, well, no, I guess Max will get here before
He's a
Mike.
heck of an asset. Boy, that he knows his equipment, huh?
Yeah, no, I've been out with Mike before, and Max does too. I mean, Max has.
I don't know any equipment.
Oh no, he can't even work a gimbal when you turn it on and hand it to him.
No. I would have been here sooner, but I was trying to set this up. So
yeah. Mike doesn't.
Oh my God.
Mike doesn't live that far from me, man. He's like right down the road from me, man. And
oh, nice.
I love working. I love working with the guy. He's pretty cool, man. Go out there. So that's really cool. He was already down there once with you, though, wasn't he, Matt?
Yeah. We've done a movie.
Yeah, I remember
film
seeing that
already.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we learned a lot from Mike. Mike got me started on the right path of really. Mike's the one that told me he probably made me realize. Let me frame it this way. He probably made me realize what I do bring to the table and how I could leverage it in the best way possible.
Oh, absolutely, bro.
And he made me see what I'm capable of doing or what I could do, but left it open and said, the choice is yours. There's 5 roads you can go down. You can go way to the left, way to the right. You can shoot down the middle and be honest. And that's just the way I'm going to go. And then going out with Max and learning what he brings to the table. I am so lucky to go out with.
I don't know what I bring to the table, but thank you, Matt.
No,
you do a great job, Max.
You and I
do a great job. Don't cut yourself short, man.
Yeah, Max.
Matt,
well, like you were talking earlier about Sasquatch Wizard, about watching your own progression. So there's been a lot of progression, and that's why I haven't put videos up, because I get so damn excited when stuff happens. But I cut you off.
No, that's right.
Matt, you bring a lot of skills to the table, man. I mean,
Yes,
your photography skills.
Oh, I appreciate
and
it.
that, man. I mean, that's incredible, dude. I got nothing but mad respect for you.
It
and
shows
what you're trying to do down there,
videos.
Man. You're not into the sensationalism. You're not into, look, there's a stump squatch over here. There's this, that. You're out there trying to really investigate this, man. And that is what I really appreciate. I appreciate all the real guys out there that are really just trying to stick to what my buddy Thomas says. Stick to the facts and never deviate from the facts, man. And that's what you're trying to do, man. And that's great, dude.
And it's so hard
for everybody.
And it's so hard because I'm capable of doing a film. I'm capable of adding music. I'm capable of adding. I know a lot of professional voiceover people, and I started to jump to that path, and then I had to catch myself and say,
Yeah.
no, I want to be. There's no one doing just really straight up raw footage and letting the camera roll. And I think that's one thing I bring. That it may be boring, and I apologize. And if you don't like it, turn it off. But
it's not boring,
I'm showing you. I'm trying to show people what it's like. We don't have soundtracks in our ear out there playing thump 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 music and dissolves and swishes and all. I could do that stuff all day long. Trust me. If I really wanted to put my mind to it, I could do that I could be that guy.
I started messing around with it because I thought it was cool, and I started adding a little bit of stuff to my videos and everything. And then same thing happened. It was like a couple weeks later, and I started watching it, and I'm like, "You corn dog, what the hell are you thinking, man?" Because a lot of times I'd finish it, it'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, "God, just get this thing done and get it out there." And then I told myself, "Do not do that because you idiot, you." You go back and watch it later, and you think, "Man, that's corny."
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Like
no, and Matt, that's exactly, man. I said it earlier, man. Raw footage, dude. When it comes to research, if you're really out there investigating and researching, to me, and that's my opinion. I'm only saying this is my own opinion. That's the only way to go, bro. Is raw footage, man. No editing, no fucking spooky I'm sorry, Max. No spooky music.
No, I like other people's spooky music. I don't know how to do that stuff.
No,
raw footage, bro. I agree with you 100%, Matt.
Yeah. I like watching people that that add that to their videos too.
Sure.
And the only reason I would do it is if I got to cover up something, like when I went out with Chris Connors that time, and him and Ron were having a conversation, and it wasn't my conversation to hear, and I was trying to be respectful, and I covered their talking up because they were giving locations. And I was a guest, and I got blasted for it on my channel. My people were just like, "What are you doing? Stop with the music!" And I went, "Wow, they really care." I do have viewers that really care about straight up. This is what it's like in the bush. I'm not pulling any punches. I'm getting more comfortable. I'm getting better, and I'm going deeper, and I'm going further. And I'm going.
What do you
places.
think about a whole, like, let's say you spend a whole year doing all your research, and every video you put out to show what you're doing, you're showing raw footage, you're being, on the straight and narrow, but maybe at the end of the year you want to do a wrap up video that covers everything you did and all the highlights. And then maybe that's the time to go ahead and, make it a little bit of a
I can do that.
Jazz it up a little bit, grand finale at the end of the year, somewhere around New Year's, Christmas, or something like that.
I got a soundbite from Mr. Powers there that I'm holding in my back pocket.
Oh shit.
I wish I could roll it now, but the time you came out of the woods and I said, "How's it going, Max? And you want to introduce yourself?" And he takes about 2 steps back, and he walks forward, and he goes, "I'm Max fucking Powers."
My middle initial is F. So.
Max fucking Powers.
It was awesome. It was awesome. So that's gonna play one day. That's gonna play.
I do love the name. I mean, come on, man.
I got it off a blender. My dad got it off
Powers.
Oh my god.
No, seriously. My parents got a blender for their wedding present. And it had a red button at the end that said Max Power. And my dad, being Chuck Powers, said, "Hey, that's what we're going to name our kid."
Max.
And
I see.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I believe it.
Oh
You
my
cannot
God.
make up shit like that.
No, I have. Well, here's the other part of that is I have 2 brothers. Both of them older than me. One got named after my dad's father. The other got named after my mom's father. And when a third boy came along, they're like, "Oh shit, we're gonna name after the blender." So.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say medium and low.
That's right. My name is Matt.
I'm gonna call
Powers.
them that from now on.
This
Can you
is
guys
my-
hear me?
these-
Because
these are my brothers medium and
Yeah,
low.
we
Brother medium
All
and
right.
my sister
Yeah.
low.
Oh my gosh.
My mind's just not working. I get out of bed to come down here
Yeah.
to get on
Aw.
this, Matt. So,
Well, God bless you. Thanks for being here.
well,
And I got Sasquatch hanging around it. He doesn't do shows. He's like, he kept promising me he'll come on. Man,
I finally got this new PC, and
I heard about you talking about your new.
Finally. And I'm actually tomorrow at 4:30. I'm going to be at Best Buy with some computer pro that's going to take this old computer that has everything in it that I'm afraid to even touch because it all
Transfer it
turned
over.
white. Yeah, I have the external hard drive,
external
and I'm going to
drives,
have them take everything safely and put it on that so that I can transfer that to this computer. Although this computer did transfer some of what I uploaded that was uploaded into the cloud. That was pulled over to this new PC. But there is a lot on that has not been pulled over.
Right.
And I'm afraid that it's infected or whatever. I'm not a computer wizard, but yeah.
No, but you are a Sasquatch wizard Adirondack.
Yeah, I'm a drywall wizard. That's where that name came from, because my email, drywallwizard@yahoo.com, has been my email forever and a day. And drywall is my occupation.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was trying to think of the name, I was like, well, we'll go Sasquatch Wizard. And I'm trying to come up with a logo. I'm ready to kind of brand the name. And I've been wrestling around with some stuff. Well, I need to have, like Matt has there, he's got his stamp, his brand.
Puppies.
Oh, look at that. There's some doggies.
I've often wondered why didn't they just call it wall?
Yellow labs.
They have to call it drywall as opposed to wet wall. I mean, why don't they just call it wall?
Right. I mean, I don't know. I know my Uncle George McKinney said when they first came out with drywall, they were in 2 foot by 2 foot squares. They came in like a bundle. That was right from putting lath straps on the walls with the spitters that used to hold the iron nails in their mouth with the magnetic hammer tip, and they would grab a nail out of their mouth in one whack and then put them lath straps on, and then all that. Then they had 2 foot by 2 foot square sheetrock panels. And he said, I think it was within the year, they quickly realized 4 foot wide by 8 foot long, and then bigger sheets, and thus you have drywall. It's not wet until you put the mud to it. So
that's
I
right.
guess,
yeah. I guess that's okay. Yeah. This is drywall. Oh, this is wet wall.
Wet wall would be the lime, horsehair and lime,
I guess so,
the scratch coats and all the coatings. So you would have a very wet wall system all the way until it dries out.
And then you have sheetrock, and that's another story.
And then you have sheetrock, and that's all she wrote. Yeah.
Hey, so Max, let's go back to something. You're talking about the footprint. You were getting all excited.
I was.
What's your take? What's going on?
My take is, who the hell knows what kind of foot they have? Show me a damn skeleton. And
Sasquatch point there.
You talked about Meldrum. Meldrum thinks of them as apes, and he thinks of them as Australopithecus.
Yeah, he thinks the whole Gigantopithecus thing. And you're right. I mean, but the guy does have an expertise in primate morphology, foot morphology. I've studied a lot, but you're right about the skeleton. We don't know.
By us limiting to that, we're missing a lot of evidence. I talk to, I go out and talk to, I'm not a scientist. I don't come up with my own, I come up with ideas, but then I go ask scientists about them.
Right.
I got to spend an evening at a campfire with a guy who designs prosthetic limbs. And
that's cool.
Not that it matters.
Not that, well, he had one leg, so it's a good thing that he,
Well, all right.
right? What are the odds of that? But I guess if you
Yeah.
have one leg, you might say, "Hey, I
I need
How
another
can I
leg.
walk? How can I help myself?
I need
anyway."
another leg.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what he said was, because he saw the Bigfoot sticker on the back of my truck, or stickers on the back of my truck,
Excuse me.
and said that if these things, we're reporting them as bipedal, we're reporting them as upright bipedal. We say that they go smoothly and silently. He was actually someone who had watched a lot of Bigfoot shows on like the Travel Channel, so he didn't know what the hell he was talking about, obviously. But if those are the points we're making, right? It requires arches, the 4 arches that we have in our feet, to do that. That's what made human beings hunters, and able to hunt in groups, and able to walk the long distances. You need those arches in your feet.
Well, right. It made him be able to run
Right.
long distances too.
But this is only part. Yeah, run long distances. This is only part of it, though. The other thing is that there are people out there. Is it like 12% of the human population has what they call a prehensile foot?
They have a mid-tarsal break, basically.
A mid-tarsal break. So
Yeah.
if 12% of the human population can have that, even if it's only 12% of the Bigfoot population, would it be possible for them to have arches? I think it would. The other thing, this guy just kept
Well,
going.
I don't
You mean the
disagree
other
with
way
you on any of
around?
that.
Right? I beg your pardon?
You mean the other way around?
The other way
Bigfoot
around.
Have,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right.
But
I
then
see where
the
you're going with
third
that.
thing that this guy brought up is when you see a guy with big feet, I bet he has flat feet. Ask him. If you know what I mean. And that's an odd thing to do,
He has big shoes.
right? But if you have a friend with, a size 14 foot, say, hey,
Right.
how were your feet? Oh man, my
Flat.
they flattened out. My arches have fallen. Whatever, because that's what happens to big feet. So do big foots? I almost said, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do
Go
Bigfoots with big feet have fallen arches, or do when we're looking at a human-shaped foot, odds are that they have arches.
Right.
If you're looking at more of a,
Yeah, and I see where you're going with that. And I won't argue that at all. I mean, there's possibilities everywhere. I'm just saying that
you can't argue it. That's the point. You really can't.
But tracks that have been deemed by experts, and that's all I'm going with here.
Right.
Tracks that have been deemed by experts in all this foot morphology and primate foot morphology are actually showing that they, are actually showing different things, such as there is no apparent arch in these feet, as a general rule.
Right.
Now, I get what you're saying. Could there be a Sasquatch? And I get it because they're bipedal, right? Could there be one that does have an arch? Could you come across a Sasquatch track that actually has an arch? Well,
there are people.
I don't know, because that would then make the foot morphology itself totally different than other Sasquatch. In other words, if they have an arch, they would not have that mid-tarsal joint. They'd be more of ours, whereas they're always saying that Bigfoot, their feet only really superficially resemble human footprints. So,
well,
I mean,
if we look at, like the patty footprints, these elongated prints. Those are very human feet, first of all. Secondly, I think we're limiting ourselves if we don't look into that. And I'm not the guy.
Well, I see what you're saying.
No, it is a good point. It's definitely worth paying attention to.
I have.
When you're seeing tracks on the ground that are humongous and just aren't typical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can't rule it out, because you could have just what you're talking about. Yeah.
And one of my videos that isn't up, and I'm debating on putting it up, because one of the things I learned at the camp out with Matt was that I have a big damn mouth, and I spend half the time with the camera pointed at me talking instead of looking at Bigfoot and all the things that I'm finding. And who
Yeah.
wants to look at my ugly mug and, and my gross couch? So I didn't put those videos up, but I do have these trackways that I found way the hell out in North Carolina that are, 14 to 17 inch prints, but they look like human prints. Now, do earthers are they unusually large people? I was surprised by how tall Italians were, and they seemed to walk in packs. I went to Italy, and there were a bunch of 7-foot Italian people.
Packs of Italians.
Depending on the substrate that you have too, you could probably
Yeah.
get a little better determination as far as the weight into the substrate. So you might be able to rule out some big bare feet tracks in an area that might be an earther, be it that most of them aren't going to be 600-700 pounds.
Exactly.
So if you follow that track, you may find evidence where an earther could step on a 3-inch hardwood half-dead stick and not snap it. A 700-pound Sasquatch snap that stick in half and crush this, and then the height of things broken in that trackway that you're trying to find might be your final clue.
It's that, what do they call that?
Yeah.
Corroborating or compilation. There's a word for that. That's not the two that I just used of evidence.
Yeah.
What you find. If you just find one random print that could be within the human range, it's probably human.
But you're right, Max. You can't just rule it out when you come up there and say, well, that's not a Bigfoot track because they don't have the markings of the mid-tarsal break. Looks like this track has an arch. It's clearly not a Bigfoot track. You're right. You can't rule that out. Maybe a Bigfoot abnormally would have an arch 1 out of 1,000.
Well, if
you are onto something there.
If they are what people say, which is a bipedal, upright, smooth walking being, the things that allow us to be that are our arches. And what is it? Kinesiologist? I think he was a kinesiologist, the guy that I talked to about it. So,
well, it makes sense, and these are the kind of conversations. I'm so fortunate that to have gone out and spent several trips now with Max and Mike and dealing with people who are thought minded. And when we're out, we're usually having these conversations. And so a lot of times I end up cutting some of this conversation when I really need to go back and think, well, wait a minute, these are good conversations. Like when I ran where Max ran his footage, he goes, I couldn't run it because I was talking or you were talking or we were chit-chatting. I now embrace that. I like that dialogue happening because we're actually sharing ideas, and I default to common sense, because I'm not a scientist, but I know when to go to a scientist. And so that's kind of what I use out there is just trying to figure it out. But then, because I'm in this funk that I'm in, that I'm kryptonite, on the Bigfoot journey.
I think it's just your cologne.
Yeah, and I didn't. I tell you the truth. At one point, I was going, "Oh my God, what's that stench?" And it was me because I didn't. I purposely did because I'm reading up on scents and stuff like that. But I forgot where I was going to go with that. But
you're trying very hard.
I'm trying very hard.
You're trying very hard. They may be able to sense that, even if you're going to do your thing, and you're also thinking, "Maybe I don't want to show that." They can sense that too. I mean,
but I'm also real good with blanking out, and like when I'm kayaking, and when Ron and I went kayaking, went to the other side. Now, two things happened on that trip. I did hear 3 breaths, like a foot from my head, and my tent is right.
That's very interesting.
My tent is right at 6 feet. Now, in defense, we all pull out of camp. Person A stays a day longer. And they text me back and they go, "Hey, I know what made those 3 breaths." And I said, "Tell me what." And he goes, "A big boar came out of there right where you had your truck parked because there's a game trail going back there." And
boars and wild pig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it came out there, and that would put his snout about between the wheel and the rim of the truck, if you know what I mean. And that
Right,
would be
yeah.
pretty damn close.
Okay.
But it wasn't a snort, it was a breath. So I don't know. But so we have an explanation for that. The other thing that happened is
Sounds like I think a boar would make a little bit more noise than that. Doesn't seem like it would just come out and all you would hear when everything else around you is dead silent is just that breath. Once that
Well,
boar,
I'm not priming.
busybodies. I mean, you'd hear them tit 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 tit.
I'm not trying to prime your brain, but you have a possible answer for what those 3 breaths are.
There you go.
Possible answer is it was this boar that this guy's talking about. But
yeah.
Well, more of us need to come up with that possible answer because a lot of us just go straight to oh, it's Bigfoot.
It's
that's so much more exciting though.
Yeah, and like you said, when you and Matt
barred owl I just heard is a Sasquatch mimicking a barred owl.
God, I hate the barred owl.
Everywhere.
They sound like, hey, dude, they can sound like a freaking chimpanzee.
Dude,
they do this thing where there's a group of them, and I have it on
absolutely
somewhere. And it sounds like
straight at them now. When I hear that up and I hear them all the time just before dusk, and they just start going off. And now I just beeline straight for him because I was trying to sneak up to the owl to get it on camera and get it making a noise so I would have footage of it.
Right.
But odd as that may sound, I don't get a quarter of the way towards them and they either see me coming or whatever be it, but they're gone.
Yeah, it's hard to sneak up on an owl, man.
Yeah,
it really is.
They can see very well for a long ways and they bug out. I'm better off sitting in an area where I know they frequent and just stay completely camouflaged and motionless for about 2.5, 3 hours before it gets dark. And then at that time there is when you're going to get really good shots because it takes a good solid hour and a half, 2 hours for everything in that area to kind of forget that, not so much forget, but okay. He's just been still. He's not a threat. And then anything new that's coming into the area, if they can't smell you and you're not moving and you're well camouflaged, well, you've done your job. Now the owl comes in. Now you can get a decent shot. I have one video a while back ago. It was where that deer blew from behind me. I was being very stealthy, moving into an area that I was very interested in. And this deer was on a runway coming up from behind me and snuck up on me. Right after that happened, right before that happened, an owl had come right through the woods, come up, landed into a tree, and I was trying to get my camera ready to get around this other big pine tree to get a shot, and then it swooped off and took away.
Oh, yeah.
And, you got to have that camera ready too. Everything's got to fall into place.
Yep.
Here you go. Let me see if I can play something here real quick.
I've had deer snort behind me, scared the hell out of me.
It scared the bejesus right out of me. I'll tell you.
Here you go. Let me try something here. This is why I hate barred owls.
There's my little candy. It was right around here.
Where'd you put it this time? You
paying,
didn't get the stump, right? You put it somewhere else?
I wasn't paying attention. It was right around here somewhere. Oh, here.
Let me find where it is.
And a taco. And they're both gone. Up there. That's that little stump leaning over.
Next time, hide it like back there so if somebody comes back
We'll find
here,
out, Mike.
they don't.
Hold on. Let me.
Palmetto that just moved. That was loud. It sounded like it was an accidental move. The palm went back and came. Something's right here watching us. Somewhere right in here.
Hold on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find where.
What is that? What the hell was that?
A bird.
That sounds like a bird to me.
Maybe a crane.
What do you think, Matt? Want to come back for a longer excursion? Amazing back here.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hey, I'm so into it. I wasn't even listening. Like, oh yeah, sure. Hang on. I'm trying to find where
This is new, Marie. That's a fresh tree, too. It just pushed over.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
You go down and then you go across. Yeah. And cast them. I think shooting them.
I'm trying to hear the owls. We got like 21 human-like.
Yeah, spray my head.
I just want you to hear one of them. I can't find it.
What's what we got? That's a good art.
Okay. Why has it stopped? Seriously.
Yeah, why has it?
Okay, so it's back up here.
It'd keep going.
Okay, hold on.
Could it have fallen?
We just
Hold on,
talked
let me-
over one
let me
right
see
there,
again.
by the way. Okay, right here. Listen.
My audio recorder's still in the back. Okay. Make sure it's
You got it on?
You think you got it?
Yeah.
Should've-
I got it on 3 cameras, actually.
Way back.
So Mike, you do that every time you go on the spot, right?
Yeah.
You let them know it's you.
Right when I get to the entrance.
I'm going.
This is the day out with Mike and Marie from
Is this a tripwire?
mid Florida.
Yep.
Oh,
Hear it again?
I did.
that's number 4.
So what is that?
Right here. Yeah. What we call the tripwire.
You let them know it's you.
Right when I get to the entrance.
Listen.
I'm going this way.
Once you get past the gauntlet.
Is this a tripwire?
Hear it again?
You do that every time you go on the spot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The tripwire.
Yeah.
It goes. You let them know it's
Right
you.
when I get to
Like
the
that.
entrance.
Right here.
I'm going this way.
Once you get past the gauntlet.
Is this a tripwire?
Yeah, there it goes. I heard it.
No, I heard it. Yeah.
I had when that happened, I had never heard an owl do that, and I was 100% convinced that was not an owl.
They make a lot of different.
Yep.
Even
Well-
the same owl will make a multiple different calls.
Oh, but I spent
yeah.
like 8
Yeah.
hours looking for that owl,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it was literally going, you know, and I went, that
Yep.
is 100% human, and we're in it. This is a new area.
Sure.
It's very
Sure.
close to residential, but goes out into a prairie, into a preserve.
Yeah.
I went for it, and about 10, 12 hours of listening to owl audio. Some guy from
Yeah,
Miami
there's-
goes,
Yeah.
"Matt,
There's a
it's
lot
a
of it."
barred owl." And I
Yeah.
typed in barred owl screams like man. And if you do that, you'll get that sound 100% exact.
Yeah.
Ah,
And
cool.
that's when my
Yeah.
world changed, is because I went, well, wow, okay. I got a lot of learning to do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I
man,
mean,
you
the
know,
first
what do you
time I
guys
ever
think?
heard it, man, it was during the day, which threw me off because I'm of the mind owls, you hear them at night,
Well, that was day 2.
but yeah,
Mhm.
but juvenile owls will sound off during the day.
Sure.
And man, the first time I ever heard one barred owl, juvenile, I could have swore up and down. I've got it on camera. It's somewhere on my
Yeah.
page somewhere.
Yeah.
I've got it to where I'm like, this thing goes off and it's loud as shit. And I'm
Mhm.
like, holy, what the F was that? I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, that's gotta be a Sasquatch, man. I don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah,
dude,
I
this
did the
thing
same.
sounded
I
just
did the
like
same.
chimpanzee, man. I mean, it was crazy until I did exactly what you just said, Matt. I started
Would you-
looking up. Well, first of all, I went to this guy. His name is what's his name? His first name is Patrick. I can't remember his last name right off the top of my head right now. He's an owl expert, man. And I sent it to him just on the offset. I was like, what the hell? And he told me what it was. He's like, yeah, that's a juvenile barred owl. It's actually, there's 2 owls in there. And that's what's making it sound so weird, because one owl is answering a juvenile barred owl. And it was crazy, man. It was crazy. They make a lot of noises. A lot of different noises.
You know what'll be interesting though is once somebody lands a video evidence of a Sasquatch imitating a barred owl.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So I mean, because you proved that one sound you heard, you did the right thing. You seek the answer, and then you found your answer.
Yeah.
You didn't just assume. You weren't happy with that. You went and took it a step further. But that doesn't mean turn that whole thing around. When you hear that sound again, don't just write it off that's the barred owl. Right. Because it might be a Sasquatch imitating a barred owl. We don't know exactly.
They're not.
I don't know, man.
Bigfoot aren't very good at the trill at the end.
What's that program that you load up into your I have it wrote down, and that's another thing that this guy's going to do is upload all those. What's it? The spectrogram? Is that what?
Spectrograph, yeah.
Right, spectrograph, and then even Tactical Mike one night. I have it wrote down on a slip of paper. Matter of fact, I got 50 of them in there. What is that? There's a you know what? Hold on, let me just grab it.
You got 50.
There's gonna have to be this is just my opinion, man. There's gonna have to be some really, really hard evidence of a Bigfoot mimicking any animal before I believe that Bigfoot's out there mimicking a bunch of animals just to fool us.
Yeah.
No, I follow you.
I think that's the Max's
I feel the
point.
same way. I feel the same way until it's proven.
Yeah, I think that's to Max's point that so many times, and this is the big discussion we had on the camp out video, is that so many times good evidence or possible evidence is thrown out in the wash because of all the conclusions the channels are coming up with and saying. And I just realized I got to stop.
Yeah.
Do my own.
There's the bullshit pseudoscience answers that come up. And then there are the Bigfooters, like Aristotelian suppositions that come up, which is basically that Bigfooters think this. So we jump to that conclusion automatically. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Bird.net.
Yeah, we got that too.
Oh, I have bird.net.
Isn't that where you punch in? Yeah, you punch in the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're
bird, and it tells you what kind of bird it is.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I've got to get that put on here and get all of those.
I've used it before. Bird.net.
Here you go.
I've got too many projects going on myself. I'm doing.
See if I can get that.
Task. Let's see. What are we doing here? Tree breaks decoded. I'm getting close to being.
Yeah, there it is. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's eBird, there's bird.net, and there's Song Sleuth. There's 3 of them that you can download.
We need a coyote,
we do, yeah, because they make all kinds of weird freaking noises.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not even sure that they know exactly how many yet that they do, but they do a lot of different weird noises.
Yeah, too many irons in the pot here. I need to actually go all the way back to day one and focus on one thing and get it done and seal it up. I mean, I've got more projects I'm working, magnetoreception, Native Americans, tree breaks decoded, some stuff about the New York State DEC, holy Toledo.
Tree breaks decoded.
You got folders full of projects that I'm working on. Yeah, actually, to tell you
Tree breaks decoded. What is that?
You guys are gonna like that. You guys are gonna like that. So I've actually taken the time to do the research on that, and I have pulled some studies that have been done. I'm gonna be putting this video together, and so I don't want to blow the whole thing, but I've done some reading on some studies that have been done from different professions on the effects of natural disasters and
Mhm.
trees snapping in the woods and why this and that happens.
Right.
Well, that also led me to having to study why fungus and bacteria cause weakness in trees or trees to break and what's going on. Which last spring, I had an instance where I had this tree come down and it was, you know, I was like, wow, look at all this. I did a video on it and I tried to fully investigate it. And somebody in chat had or made a comment and said, you know, you should take a slice of that tree and get it tested because that fungus I see on the tree might have, and it sparked right there. I'm like, you're right. You're absolutely so right. Anytime you see a tree break, and you should definitely take us if you can, and you don't think you're going to disturb your area, which, I mean, come on, it's a tree break. They can break another one down the road. Sorry if they're going to miss the left-hand turn. Take a sample of that tree, where it's broken, below it, above it, to try to figure out why did that tree break. You also, of course, you need your pictures in the area. And another thing that I have, give me 2 seconds, I'll show you what I'm doing here.
I think I had a bot in chat I just killed. If you weren't a bot, sorry.
I saw that. There was someone else selling porn too. So.
Oh no, I keep those.
Oh, okay.
So,
good, because I didn't get a chance to write it down. So.
No, I'm trying to get it now. I don't have any.
So I haven't taken it out of the wrapper yet. But,
speaking of porn,
it's a 4,700 pound chain, and because I have the receipts, I actually wanted to take and write down all the data to this chain, plus have the receipt and not miss or let anything slide through the cracks. So this chain, I have other parts and pieces. This rated hook, shorten up this story. All of these, I'm going to take all the information, all the ratings on it, keep it in a file, and then I'm going out into the woods with a set of come-alongs, and I am going to do my own tree breaks, and I'm going to record how many pounds of pressure by getting a scale that's upwards of 5,000 pounds, a digital scale, and I'm going to hook the chain to different points with different trees, and I'm going to crank on that and see how many pounds of force it'll take to snap that tree. But can you imagine how many I have to do? I have to do a spruce tree that has fungus on it. It's kind of weak in a dense area. I have to do that same spruce tree with fungus on it in an open area at the top of a mountain.
The bots are attacking you, Matt.
Yeah,
try to collect as much data as I possibly can, because one study over in Europe, when they had a massive storm over there, scientists went out and they had determined that it didn't matter what kind of tree it was.
Yeah.
You see that? They
97 miles per hour, 90 something,
bingo.
94. Yeah.
Yes, that's the one. And they
Yeah.
just said it doesn't matter. It'll all snap over. But then there was a guy who actually specializes in determining storm damage, stepped in, read the report, and said, well, that's a good starting point. But I do this for a living. I go determine what a tornado or a hurricane does for damage on these trees, and you're not taking into the fact that trees have some have leaves, some don't have leaves.
Are they catching the wind? Are they not catching the wind?
Exactly. How much wind is that tree catching versus this other tree? And that's what this is. Tree Breaks Decoded. I'm trying to come up with some solid.
Well, there you go, bro.
Some solid information that people can take into the woods with them when they see a tree break and determine.
Yeah.
Why did this tree break?
Right.
And if you know that it wasn't because of anything that I put together, well, then you might have a stronger case for it could have been an animal.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bears.
But we should all watch a
pine
Tom
trees.
Wessels video.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Thinking outside the box,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
This is the kind of stuff people are like, oh my God, are you really meaning that the freaking investigation and research into this Sasquatch shit is that fucking boring? You're out there
It really is, isn't
with
it?
come-alongs and cages and are you kidding me? Where's the freaking stump squatch? Damn it! You know,
Yeah.
I've got
but
plenty.
no,
of pictures of
that's cool, man. That is
Yeah.
adding to the information. You're right. That's
And I
awesome.
also have pictures of what I could, if I was going to go ahead and tell somebody, yeah, I think that really is I think that's a manipulation of the forest material. And I think that there's a good chance Sasquatch may have done that. Without telling the whole world, if I feel strongly about that, I have a couple different ones that I've got pictures when I found it. I have pictures a month or so later. I want to keep on taking pictures, and I'm watching these things deteriorate, trying to get a good idea of how fresh something is, what it looks like after it's been sitting for some time.
Right.
And that's basically what this project will, entail once it's completed.
You might want to talk to your local arborist.
That's
your
going to
local
happen
tree
at
surgeon.
Whitmore College.
Yeah. I took one out in the woods with me, and it changed how I see absolutely every broken tree out there.
Yep.
So, and I
That's
also I
awesome.
spent a good part of the summer out with the guys from the Bartlett Experimental Forest, which is up in the White Mountain National Forest.
Cool.
Another good resource is Tom Wessels, which if you just type his name in the YouTube search bar, Tom Wessels, and he's not too far from you. He spends a lot of time at the Harvard Experimental Forest in the Berkshires. So,
wow.
Okay.
Far be it from, I mean, nature. No, I am not going to say. In fact, I can be pretty confident that I'll say that, hey, I don't have that many doubts that Sasquatch probably do manipulate their environment. Absolutely. I don't see why they wouldn't.
Exactly. I believe that too. I agree.
When I don't see why they wouldn't when there is actual examples that this does happen, even with us, with ancient humans, with people that we did the same thing. So the fact that they would manipulate their environment, I have no doubt that they do it. But yes, that's the thing. Talking about what Max said, nature does do a really lot of weird shit. And shit that people attribute to automatically it's Sasquatch. It's like, but you don't know that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but we also
you have to learn.
We have
what
to be
is,
Sorry,
what is Sasquatch or possibly Sasquatch, and what is just natural shit that happens in nature.
Eventually, we're all gonna come to the conclusion over a period of time, contributing factors that would have to point to that being being manipulated by wild people in the forest. And if you can't have some of those contributing factors fall into place, you're going to need to move on and not just put that out and say, well, boy, I got to tell you, look, that tree snapped, that one snapped, that's got to be a Sasquatch. And feeding that information out into public with nothing to back it.
It's misinformation, but the entire community's been guilty of that. The other problem,
and we're all following each other.
Right.
Yeah.
The other problem is people hate it. When I started saying Colorado's Bigfoot tree structures, is all.
Don't mess with somebody's cherished beliefs, Max.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pine beetles and forest fire damage.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
they shouldn't get upset about that because you got to be able to accept criticism for crying
Is it
out
all right
loud.
that I said someone else's channel name on your channel, Matt? I'm sorry.
I'd prefer all that to go to Nikki. I'm out of that game. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm out of that game. I think there's channels that do it better than me, and that they have more knowledge than I do. I'm only a 2-year person.
We get your drift on that, though.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
And that was, the first channel I followed. So, and I probably why I'm so infatuated with structures too. But I also apply common sense to them. So, and that's just the way I go about mine. But as an anthropology major who studied archaeology, underwater archaeology, physical archaeology, cultural archaeology, name them all. The only one I did not do is biblical. For the minor, for the 20 credit hours, is biblical. That's one I have avoided at all costs. But man has always left an impression. There's not a civilization that hasn't left an impression of some sort. So you can't tell me to ignore. I will not believe, in my opinion, I will never ignore a break, a snap, a bend, or so. I still look at them, but like Max and Sasquatch Wizard had alluded to before, I have to see instances of 2s, 3s, and 4s before it starts getting my attention. And normally, when I have seen a break, a bend, a pointer, a noise, a footprint, or something like that, things do line up and gets interesting for me. Yeah. But I have to see more than a print or 3 prints, or, and there's been expeditions that's gone on where I fished and said, well, what kind of signs were there? And I've had reports where there were no physical signs. Well, I would be depressed if I was out in the woods and couldn't. And I know there are signs that we are putting upon ourselves as being Bigfoot. We have already blanketed everybody's and brainwashed everybody's mind that all of this stuff is Bigfoot, right? But the trick is to see through that and try to see something a little deeper, that maybe it's not the 20-foot bend, maybe it's the 4 little sticks that cover a foot on the ground, like Matt brought to my channel once. I had never even looked for miniature things like that on the ground. Okay. And Max has a whole body of work of these things being in less than a square foot, of these glyphs and that change when going in and coming out. I don't see that, but there has to be. You cannot tell me logically that there is no sign left, but there's Bigfoot there, and that they leave no sign. And that is just.
If they have human intelligence, or a type of human intelligence, a heightened intelligence, they have to be able to communicate with each other in a silent way. It would only make sense.
Right? They try not to be found. You got to do it quietly.
I will tell you, man.
Like those
my lack of actually hearing what people have always classically considered as Bigfoot vocals, my lack of hearing those and yet being able to actually see one and look one in the face, I will say that I am really close to thinking that they actually communicate a lot non-verbally. Which means, absolutely, do I think that they're leaving little signs for themselves? Absolutely, I think they do.
They have to be. They have to be.
Yeah. They must. Those signs aren't meant for us, you know.
Exactly.
But they're meant for themselves. So if and so you got to be really careful when you're looking at this stuff, because you're thinking, oh my God, Sasquatch sign is right there. It's this big X. Why would a Sasquatch? And I'm telling you, I don't know. I'm not going to argue about it with anybody who thinks about X structures. But first of all, X is a letter in our alphabet. Why would Sasquatch know that X means don't go there, or what an X is? I mean, That happens a lot in nature, man. Trees fall and they make X's. But
And they always seem to be these straight lines.
yeah.
I mean, a tree is straight. If a tree falls this way, a tree falls
I
that way.
have found some interesting
There's
so-called X's.
The pegged X's. Have you found those?
Well, there was so it wasn't just walking up and finding an X. I see that all the time, and
it only looks like an X if you're coming on it from a certain direction.
From one direction. Exactly. It isn't that they're touching a lot of times, but there is a instance where I had traveled through an area, basically not very far off the main trail, across the creek. On the other side of the dam, there's this peninsula out there, and at the neck of that peninsula, the shortest distance across, there's another big bay and a huge ridge. A lot more story going on. But I had already walked through that area just days prior. Now, I don't know what did this, but it doesn't make sense to me that a bear would have done it. And I have pictures, and I want to say that I've already showed this way back in the beginning. But there was a spruce tree that was pushed over across the trail. And it's not even a trail. It's a game trail is what it is. It's not a human trail walking over there. Just a somewhat of a cleared out area that I kept walking through. And there's a spruce tree bent over in the picture. And then there's two trees that are crossed that are a light colored and about 1.5 inches around. Like something had just blocked that whole trail off. Now, this goes back to like my first summer, and I was blown away. I mean, I thought that too. That Sasquatch, and I'm lucky that I didn't preach it, and I hope that I didn't bark too much about it, because now when I look at it, I understand, listen, crazy stuff happens. You can make up whatever you want to make up in your mind. But nature can do that. You might not think so, but if you were there, you wouldn't have. Okay, there was two baby black bear cubs, and they were playing, running up the tree. This one's running up that tree. They both go up the spruce tree, and it tips over. Now they're running over here, grabbing onto this tree, and they bend that tree over. And then they run over here, and now all of a sudden they take off, and you have a bent over spruce tree and an X. Right. You don't know for sure that might have happened. You can't say that it was a Sasquatch.
Right. But, and you got to be like, why would they even be doing it as science? So no, because they know. But look,
so wait a minute.
They probably are out there
in that area.
Little things.
This is what I'm getting at. So that whole scenario right there could be like, well, maybe not, right? But in that area, I found where something made, like they were getting ready to make a little campfire, but they never lit it on fire. I have pictures of that. And I was
I still think they might. Kids. People argue with me, but
it was like 10 foot off the side of a pond. And I'm thinking maybe somebody came here to go camp, to do some camping, and then whatever had to leave or didn't bring them in.
Bigfoot scared them off.
But then out on the peninsula, I found another like pile of 12, 13 foot long white pine dead sticks out in the middle of this opening, kind of stacked neatly out in the middle of the opening. That started making me scratch my head. So I was getting multiple things that were happening in that area.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was a highlight for me that summer. I went back and I haven't gone back there, and I went back and visited it this year to see, has anything else happened over there? Those two trees that were crossed across that I told you at first, and the spruce tree over, the two crossed over trees are gone. I can't even find remnants of the trees, that they aren't even laying on the ground. The spruce tree is still laid over, and it's dying. And that's where I got, where I had the coyotes come at me that night, and I had to yell at them. Nothing else crazy has happened in that area, But I can see where even myself, I had to get a hold of myself and just understand that even though that looks extravagant, you got to refrain from assuming that you've figured it out.
Yeah.
You see that damn thing right there doing it. You
Yeah.
just simply can only say, well, it could have been this, and well, it could have been that, and well, it could have been this. But as far as tree manipulation in the forest, there would be no reversing my thoughts that if we are led to believe there are wild people up in the woods and they have children, there's no way they're not playing things, climbing up trees.
And that's the thing is when it comes to those things, look, these huge bushcraft looking structures, I'm sorry, until you show me a Sasquatch doing it, you're not going to convince me they're out there making those things. But they are doing the little things. You got to realize Sasquatch, for all intents and purposes, as it seems, they really don't want us to really know that much about them, where they're at, what time they're there, etc.
Yeah,
but we don't even know that.
They're not going to be right. We don't even know that. So they're not going to be leaving these huge things. It's going to take a lot to convince me that they're doing these big ass structures that everybody claims. However, I think that what they're doing out there, they're living their life, they're hunting their food, they're making their nests wherever they can. Maybe they're living in caves where they have systems of caves, and they're doing these little things, and it's the little signs that you have to look for, because they're not going to make these big, huge, grandiose signs that, hey, here we are, go this way. You know, it's to themselves. You need to look for those little things. The glyph thing, I don't know. Maybe I haven't seen a lot of that.
Well, Diesel
I have. Especially this year.
But they are, I think they're doing the little things, man. They're doing the little things, and those are things you have to
messing with me
kind of look at.
Yeah.
You know? There's it's just too easy. There's so many bushcrafters out there. I've ran into structures that, I mean, I'm sorry. I just have to put it up to the point of somebody made this bushcraft shelter.
I wish we could get a video of somebody doing that.
I
wish that somebody
be
building that.
I watched a lot of videos of people building them.
There were two. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just bushcraft videos. You see it all the time.
Bushcraft videos.
Yeah, but now if you look at bushcraft videos.
Yeah, I mean somebody literally going out there being like, wow, these people are going to come around and think this was a big.
Oh, no. Yeah. No.
Oh, no. I don't think bushcrafters do that with that in mind at all. They don't know. You just all of a sudden you come across, oh my God, Bigfoot made this. And it's a bushcrafter that was out there bushcrafting. But I want to go back to the one thing about the thing you were talking about when you said the fire thing.
The unlit, the unlit.
Yeah, there are two, and I know people argue, and I just say they say, well, there's no evidence that Sasquatch uses fire. Okay, well that's true. There's so far not any, but and you can't prove a negative, but there's no evidence that they don't either. And I have personally, that's not enough. It's not enough for me to say it, but I have found two instances in the area where I go to, where I had my encounter, that I have run across what looked like examples of controlled fire use. There was not a ring of rocks like a camper, but it was there. It was contained in a small area, and there was two separate ones in roughly about, I don't know, probably a 10-mile thing, which, okay, it was just two. Now,
yeah, mine didn't have no.
Could that have been a person? Well, yeah, and that's why I say I can't prove anything by that because I was there. Okay, so I found a spot. So is it possible somebody did that? They didn't have any rocks and they just contained it the best they could without starting a fire, which they did very successfully. Now it was kind of there was a an attempt to kind of leave no trace type of thing, but you could see the burnt wood and
Okay, so
et
yours
cetera.
was burnt. They did get it to light on
Oh, there
fire.
was burnt wood, yes.
Okay.
There was burnt wood in two of these areas. Now, am I going to say, oh my God, no rocks? This is the area I saw that Sasquatch in. Sasquatch uses fire. No. But it made me go, this is
Yeah.
kind of odd because it's not in an area where I would think anybody would choose to actually camp.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to smell campfire
I don't
in
know.
the woods. When I think of that whole scenario, do they or don't they? I'll be honest with you. I'm like, and I remember the Rambo movie. You remember when Rambo got stuck in the cave and then the corporal, he was looking at everything out there because they shot the cave and apparently buried him and killed Rambo. But he was looking up into the woods and he saw the smoke coming out up in the distance and he knew that Rambo had gotten a fire going. And that I was thinking, if Sasquatch did use fire, if they did, they would probably, if they had caves, all of this is if.
Well,
I would think that they would go deep into the ground to do so.
Yeah.
And I've always been smelling in the woods, trying to smell. Can I smell smoke out in the woods?
They would definitely try to hide it
out there.
Here, let me show you guys this one. This is one where I was out with Bigfoot Mafia here in Tampa. And this was interesting to me because a little lead up onto this one is that we were out there and I'm the structure guy because like Diesel and LIB and me, we all, I think our first channels was Colorado Bigfoot probably 2-3 years ago. So all three of us are very, very into structures. But I kind of broke out of everything's a Bigfoot by just, being out there and applying logic. And there's just too much of what we're all seeing. So I kind of backed off on a little bit. But the archaeology background side of me says when something is out of place, you can tell when something is out of place. And again, on this particular hike, I was talking, I never met these guys until this trip. And I'm talking about breaks and bends and the old Indian, where they used to bend the trees and stuff. They're looking at me like I'm they're looking at me like I'm an alien because I studied this. And they were literally had nothing to do with anything I was saying. And right before this clip I'm going to show you, we went down a trail and the trail was 40 foot wide, grass and ankle deep water. And there was a brand new sapling busted and pushed over the trail. We walked around it 40, 50 feet, big sapling, same thing, busted, bent over the trail, coming the other way, like block, according to Mark Abel. And I do look for stuff like this still because of the things happening in 2s and 3s and 4s and that sort of thing. So we get up there and then they go, well, I don't really, we were making small talk. They were telling me I was crazy. And I went, well, there's 3 breaks right above your head. And at 12 foot, break, foot taller, break, foot taller, break, 1, 2, 3. So we had block, break. And I went, man, I just feel like we're in their living room. We're getting close to something. I did not know there was a swamp like right around the next corner. So let's pick up after me recognizing 4 or 5 signs leading up to this point. Oh, and before this, around the corner, about 200 yards back, they cast a print. Okay, so this is in a preserve.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things going on. And this is the very first time out with these guys, and they think I'm crazy. And then I point out something. But here it is. Let me switch over. A perfect blonde X sitting in the middle of a dark green and black swamp. There was nothing else like it. They weren't connected. It wasn't windfall. They were placed. To this day, I would say those were placed. If you look at the environment, there's nothing like what you just saw. So they went out and lifted them up, and they were literally not even connected to the swamp floor. They were literally crossed over like that. That was a really cool find, and I haven't found anything quite like it. And this is Mike. Mike is their camera guy, and Mike works for
How does the
Channel.
wind push that over? And you got the wind block right here with all these bushes. How is the wind going to push this over? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Palmettos make a great wind protection
They're
for
barriers.
this live tree to get knocked over. That's strange.
And here's some other stuff.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of a book barrier block.
Yep. Right here.
So we put down. I hit it with the flashlight. Couldn't see nothing. It was too far. And then I remember.
Okay, so that was one of those cases where, you know, you go out with a new team. You're bringing your knowledge. They're bringing they do not like structure talk at all in this group. And have since then, because of the things I've showed them, similar to what Diesel sees and all of us from the old channels, I don't gravitate to channels like that much anymore because there's just too much every day, every time they go out. But that was a very strange day. And also on that day, I captured a really good pareidolia shot of, you know, a palm like this and a perfect lineup of a forehead, chin, eyeball, nose, mouth, lip, all the way down.
Perfect pareidolia shot. Huh?
It's on my Instagram. I
almost lost your Jenny.
Yeah, I mean, early on, this is like the first year in, and I did stuff like that, and I got into that. But as the archaeologist, or a study of archaeology in my background, I can't overlook that a primate or a human of some kind is not going to leave a mark in the forest of where they are. The question
Everybody's got to go through these.
Are we looking at the right
motions? It's how you come out the other side. I mean, once you get all wrapped up into it and you go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I mean, a good solid leader is gonna recognize.
Yeah, I went down the hole. And I backed off a little bit. Yeah,
you know, and then you get a hold of yourself and regroup, sit down and think really good and hard.
Yeah,
and look at everything, put it all out on the table, and say, all right, what am I doing here? You know, what's a fact? What is not?
Right.
What direction am I going to go? And if you keep right on heading off into that direction, pointing at everything, thinking that everything that wiggles and everything that falls out of a tree and hits the ground is Sasquatch, you've chose your line. And
yeah, you're right.
You know, you just
Yeah, I mean, my earlier videos, I went back and watched a couple earlier ones, and I went, "Oh my god!" Because you know, I did what everybody's doing, and
oh yeah, dude, I did the same thing, Matt.
It takes a while. It takes a while to find your own voice and to say, "What do I want to do?" And that's when I just came up with it. You know what? I'm just gonna run a camera roll, just straight up documentary, and not talk too much. I don't point the camera at myself. I never did. I'm just showing the people, you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't get a chance to go out, that watch all of our channels. Yeah. And I want to, someone has to be a voice of, this is what the real world is. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, there's snakes. Sanity. Yes, it's wet. Yes, it's stinky. Yes, it's swampy. Yes, Matt jumps in the car when he gets scared. I'm not Sasquatch Wizard Adirondack. I don't go out there with, you know, but I'm getting better.
I've tucked my tail and ran. I've tucked tail and run.
Hey, sometimes it's not. Hey, sometimes it is not dishonorable to tuck tail and run. Okay. I tucked tail and ran.
Oh, I won't run because I know that I know you become prey at that point. Right. But
exactly,
I will.
I'm old and fat, and my knees were shaking. I couldn't run, but
I will tuck tail. And I said,
I fast walk.
I know you're out there. I'm cold. I'm just going to jump in my truck for a while and turn on the heat.
You know, look, it was like, you know, I mean, this is after 43 years of praying and hoping and. God, there's got to be something to this. I've been doing this, and then all of a sudden, wham! And it's like, whoa! I'm out of here. And it's like that's just the way it happens. And you know,
That's a
But,
lifetime, man. That's
you
a
know,
lifetime.
I couldn't imagine. And
look, look,
I don't
the
know.
only thing I can say is that, Matt, there's nothing that I can actually say that's ever going to convince you that Sasquatch are real. There's nothing I can say. You know, you may believe my encounter. That's fine if you do. You might not. That's fine if you don't. There's nothing I can say. They are out there. You will eventually, if you try hard enough and keep it up, I think eventually you will. There's been many before us that have gone their entire lives and never got to see one.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of those like, you know, giant Bigfoot researchers from the past, you know, that everyone in the Bigfoot world calls the
The Four
giants
Horsemen,
whose shoulders we stand on.
Yeah.
How many of them actually saw one? You know?
Yeah.
I think
one,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Meldrum has finally seen one, but
Maybe. He says
right.
maybe.
It's a maybe.
And
But
even
how long has he been doing it?
Even Thomas Steenberg says maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
You know, but other than that, I mean, all them other guys never did. But, you know, I mean, there's nothing I can say to convince you. But all I can say is, you know, stick to the facts. Go out there, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I will.
And, you know, with any luck, you will. I mean, the odds maybe might have even been to where maybe I would have gone down that same path. I might not have ever seen one ever in my life. I may never see one again, which I will tell you, it makes me really, really freaking sad. Because I would like to see one, except for at a distance this time, not quite as close. Yeah, I mean, it's there. You just got to go where your investigation takes you, man. And you're not going to go out.
I think you're on the right path.
Yeah,
man.
I do too.
I do, and
you know,
I think you should be proud of yourself because
you're going to have a lot of times you're
sharpening
going to
your
go out there,
skills.
nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting good equipment. You're reading up and learning how to use your equipment proper, and
yeah.
And I think if anybody ever gets any really great video, man, or anything, it's going to be you. I think.
You'll be
my
ready.
personal opinion.
Or someone I've helped along the way. But
I mean, you'll be ready at least. I'm never ready. I'm never ready.
Me neither.
And I didn't say this in part one that I just posted the last video on the night vision, but if people take note on what I did on the night vision, they may learn something, because what I found though, if you hand hold night vision and you're panning too fast, you're just getting crap.
Yeah,
everything drops. But if you put it on a tripod and find that one,
be stabilized.
You got to be stabilized. And I'm not saying gimbal, but although night vision does work
Oh,
well on gimbal.
Gimbal, got a drink. Sorry.
No.
But you can put night vision on a gimbal, and nobody's doing that yet. And I haven't even done that, because the Z2 I bought, it shoots too far. It's like a 150 millimeter lens on it, and I didn't realize that when I bought it.
Stop saying the G word.
But if you put it on a tripod and just let it run, you saw how clear the footage can be.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah,
you know, and
good.
And it makes me want to just not even use the Scout anymore. I mean, that thing's just a piece of crap.
Yeah.
And if you move it, it's even more crap. The only thing the Scout.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to get one because it was one of the cheaper ones out there.
Oh, I'll sell you one.
Give me your address, Joe, and I'll mail this to you. You don't even have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, if it's crap, I don't want it.
No, well, I mean, it's not broken. Okay, it's not in bad shape.
There's two things you can do with a Scout. They're really good looking up against black sky or light sky and seeing trees. 100% it will find anything you want to shoot at 100 yards in the trees.
Yep.
Okay. The other thing is, so trees is good, and the other one is when you're totally scared crapless and your back is against a tree and you know something's out there, you can at least find where it is, but you still will not be able to tell what it is or how big it is or anything else. And
That's
I tell you,
exactly
so
right.
I paid $625 for that. I would like to sell mine. It's like new, couple hours usage. I'd probably let it go for 400 if someone wants to grab it. Text me, whatever.
I have a fairly good, and it wasn't expensive, and it records and everything. I have a night vision scope.
Well, that's what I have.
Which is totally different than FLIR. So I
Yeah.
hope everybody understands.
Yeah.
Not you guys, but there's a difference between infrared and night vision. Night vision just pretty much turns everything into daytime almost. And you can actually see whatever it is that you're looking at. You can see it. It's not just a hot blob like
Exactly.
you see.
Exactly.
So I do have that, which I love that thing.
Yeah,
I wish I had a better model, but this one does pretty well. It records, has sound on it and everything.
It seems like a lot of people started to veer away from night vision when the whole thing started to evolve about Sasquatch can see the IR.
Yeah.
And for me, over the last couple of years, it seemed that you didn't see as many people using night vision. They were switching to thermal. But
right. Yeah, the thermal. The problem with thermal is that the problem with thermal is that if you got anything that's of any size in a thermal, then fuck, you don't know if it's Sasquatch or if it's a freaking bear or it's a moose or, I mean, at certain angles. You just have a heat signature. Well, that could be anything, man. Whereas on a night vision, if you get a Sasquatch on night vision, you're going to see it's a freaking Sasquatch.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's why I ran 20, 25 minutes of footage. And there was actually more, but and all the audio is straight off the night vision, guys. And I thought that was pretty good audio. A lot of times I left it a little low.
Really?
Yeah, the audio
You pulled that audio off the night vision itself.
Yeah, all that audio is coming from the night vision, and I didn't even realize it, to tell you the truth.
That's all in one package. So you got the night vision, the audio, and video.
Yeah. So set that thing on a tripod. If people will just set that thing on a tripod when they're in camp, for those, and the majority of the people say, build a camp, relax, have a campfire, they come to you. Well, if that's the case, set up night vision on a static camera, crank it up, and shoot across. What I was doing was shooting across the river about 40 yards and looking through the palmetto and stuff another 20 yards past that. And the other side is where we can't get to. So if they're going to come up, they're going to come up from that other side, which is the side
I just come up with an idea. Okay, so if they could see the IR light, imagine a group of 6, 7, 8 guys standing around a campfire, and you're going to place your tripod and your night vision stationary, looking out into the woods. Where do you place it? Behind you, facing into the woods with nobody in the way? Or would it be better to put it on the other side, shooting straight through everybody, so that if there's a Sasquatch on the other side, he can't see that IR light and he's taking a look, and then all of a sudden somebody moves out of the way and whoa.
Right.
You follow me?
Yeah.
There's people in there.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden somebody moves out of the way and there he is, gets caught.
Yeah. Well, that's the strategy I'm using, and it's very risky and low percentage, I know, but that's
gotta be in it to win it.
Yeah, that's just how I'm doing it. I mean, at least I know what I get. Everybody will know what it is.
The can't put yourself down. Nobody else is coming out with champion night vision footage of Sasquatch.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's easy to come across. So
it's not.
I wouldn't knock yourself.
No,
and Michael Haywood. I'm going to answer Michael's. I'm not. Yes, it's my Sasquatch decoder ring, bro. It's not really.
Nice.
But I'm not going to.
Forgot all about that, chat.
I'm not going to show the ring here on Matt's podcast because it's a ring that some people might not agree with.
It's from the Dark Lord Sauron or something.
This is my decoder ring that he's talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh dear.
the juice.
That's
It's
my
the buff-
Dakota ring.
Well,
But-
that'll help. That'll help you see them for sure.
Absolutely. No, it doesn't.
Boom.
You know, the funny
All
thing
right, I
is,
might come in to get some.
I wish.
Strictly medicinal.
Actually, it is now. my favorite
Oh my God.
saying in the whole wide world is by a comedian, and I can't remember his name, but he said, "I used to smoke weed. I still do, but I used to too." And it is medicinal, actually, because I have PTSD and anxiety, which it helps immensely with that. But anyway.
Niantic says, could it be that they smell electronics too? And yes, that has been mentioned.
Yeah,
That's
they
what I'm wondering, because, you know,
absolutely.
bears will chew the shit. Anybody that's ever used game cameras has had bears attack their game
Them
cameras
lithium batteries.
at least once.
Yeah.
At least
they
once.
love that stuff.
Yeah,
Get
Mike
it
was
in
just
there,
telling
like
me
a
about the
big man.
batteries. Yeah, I didn't know about the batteries. There's so much.
But the
so
thing
much.
is about their smell, I'm wondering if their smell, because look, primates, come right down to it, primates, our sense of smell is not the greatest.
Oops.
And I don't see why it would be any different for them. So I'm not so sure about the smell of electronics. I mean, we can smell electronics when they get hot, right? You've smelled it before when something gets hot. But I don't know if they would necessarily have that great of sense of smell any more than any other primate.
I think maybe one of
A
the
little
issues
better,
is
maybe.
there's a large amount of just exaggeration. People didn't get a picture of Bigfoot. Here's why. Here's a list of reasons why I failed.
Why we couldn't.
You know what I mean?
They saw the IR light. They smelled the camera.
Bingo.
Yeah.
You know?
I throw out all of that crap because I said it once, but I said it before. Bigfoot does not know that Matt's shooting with a Bushnell Z2 that goes 150 yards. He doesn't say, hey, Matt's got 150 yards Z2. Let's stand 175 yards. You're safe. That is so free. Do people listen to what they actually reason? Do anybody listen to what they actually throw out as a freaking logical thought?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, there is no proof. There is no proof of that.
No,
and I tell you what,
none
and you know what
whatsoever.
I'm doing, Sasquatch? Wizard Adirondack? I'm going to go to a zoo. I'm going to actually go to a zoo and shoot a primate with my night vision. And I want to see the reaction. Do they go, night vision.
Yeah.
Night vision.
Yeah.
The guy's in a zoo with night vision. I mean,
there you go.
Do people listen to their
that would not be a bad idea, Matt.
It's on my list of experiments.
How do primates react to night vision?
I'm trying to put this crap away.
Yeah.
I have looked for Google. I have looked all over Google. 5 hours for footage of primates reaction startled to night vision. I have not seen it. I've seen those little ones, and you turn it on, they just go.
There is one with chimps. There's one with chimps, but I don't think there's much of a reaction, actually.
That's what I've seen. I haven't seen a reaction. So again, misinformation that's out there that's leading us all away from really looking at what's happening. And that's what I'm doing. I don't mean disrespect for someone who's been at it 20, 30 years that say, oh, what'd you get a game camera for? Don't you know Bigfoot can see night vision? No, butthead. Show me.
No.
Prove it. Where's your data?
Look, as far as I go with the game cameras, I think if there's any avoidance criteria whatsoever, it may be because it's a foreign object in their area now and they're not sure what it is.
Yeah.
And they avoid it. But other than that, you're right. There's no proof that they see IR light. You know, there's no proof that they see in any spectrum. We don't know what spectrum they see in. We don't know if it's any different than a spectrum we see in. Really.
Let me tell you something that I want to share with everybody on, again, with this another part of this. Tree breaks decoded that might help with this. All right, now I understand that when you put a tree cam up, that you're just putting a strap on a tree, and I'm not going to make this long, but I will let it be known. Trees will emit certain aromas, smells, when they're damaged, or if they're having bugs attack their roots, they will emit an aroma that other trees and other animals can smell and pick up, that lets other trees know, get prepared, there's an infestation of bugs or mold or fungus. You can look this up. It's not hard to find. But animals, I wonder if Sasquatch, so you come into an area and you're affecting that area. Does the plant life in the trees react that quickly? Can they let off this aroma, this pheromone, sort of say, that would tip off a Sasquatch or other animals to your presence in that area? Because you've simply walked on the ground, you've snapped a stick, you've strapped this thing on a tree and disturbed the bark.
Oh yeah. Totally.
It could be. Yeah. Because I know that trees do give off signals to other trees in multiple ways to alarm. You have trees, there's like mothering trees. Like the largest tree in a forest is like the central nervous system to about 150, 200, or maybe even 1,000 trees around it. Almost like the mom to all of them. And some of the bigger trees share that responsibility in the area, communicating with each other through a communication system under the ground mycelium. Now I'm starting to get off into a whole nother tangent, but trees do, when they're damaged, when they're under stress, they get oak tree bracket fungus or something, and the whole center of them's getting rotted out. That tree is letting off a signal to the surrounding areas that, whether it be hemlock woolly adelgid, spruce woolly adelgid, that they're under attack. Start up your defense system, in which trees do have a defense system as well. Different plants will secrete different types of coatings over their leaves to withstand an attack from this or that or climate, so on and so forth. And I just wonder that if, when we go into an area and set up a tree stand, wrap a tree cam onto a tree, can that disturbance signal to the rest of the forest our presence and not?
Oh, I totally agree with that.
I think maybe.
You know what's funny is that, well, at least I think it's funny. The first reference I ever heard. Now you said I had to go pee. I'm sorry. But
I'm glad you got up and went.
You said, thank you.
I peed under the table. So you said I believe I heard the words mycelial network. Okay, the first I'd ever heard of this was on the sci-fi show The Orville.
Okay.
First time I ever heard anything about a mycelial network. And I thought, and then all of a sudden I started hearing it as you were starting to talk about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's sci-fi, right? Until I did a little study on it. And this I found that this is something that actually does exist, which is really intriguing to me, because I do believe that trees do communicate with each other. I always have. I've always thought, well, look, this is my basis, okay, of everything. The Earth itself, this globe that we're living on with all its life forms, is actually a living entity. The Earth itself is alive. And so that's where I'm going with everything that's on this thing has some kind of communication network going on. Now, I'm not saying that trees are like talking, like, hey, what's up, dude, over here? Yeah,
Like
look, dude, you know, but so this mycelial network, and I find that very interesting. I don't know a lot about it yet, but I'm wondering the same thing. Do animals that live in the forest 24/7, 365, are they closely connected to that mycelial network? And were we at one time before we got away from it all?
Yeah, this is
very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
These are intriguing things. And it is a good question. Is Bigfoot connected into that? Can they sense that? You know, we know animals can sense different things like earthquakes. We were talking about this the other night. Animals can sense an earthquake before it ever happens. Volcano erupting before it ever happens. You know, so
they're earthing.
That's it. They're earthing, man.
Yeah, they're earthing.
Easy without shoes, you know.
See how I brought that all the way back around?
All full circle.
There is electricity in the ground. I mean, it is a chemical, like an electrical system, but it's chemical based. So the mycelium produces what the trees need. The trees produce what the mycelium need. They both need each other. The mycelium's in the root system and the process, you know, photosynthesis and creating the food and the sugar transfer. They both work together and they both need each other.
So if a tree is diseased, is it cut off from the rest of the network?
No, so like one portion of a tree, say, so that one tree in your video, Matt, that was knocked over, but the roots were still in the ground. When I see that now, I'm gonna go find out why were the roots on the back half of it snapped off. The front half might have been fine. It may be getting attacked by bugs and it chewed up all the root ends and it got it. Once a tree gets damaged,
good point. Yeah,
that's when bacteria can get into the tree itself and start to infect it. So it could be
disease.
Yeah,
they'll actually trees will kill. You ever find a tree that's got like that big hollow section all rotted out, and the tree's fine?
Yeah,
they will. If that part of the tree has a disease, they'll just not feed it anymore. The tree won't feed that part of itself. That part dies, the disease dies with it, and the rest of the tree is fine.
And then and it grows. It's everything else is living all around it. So when a tree gets attacked, don't necessarily, you can tell it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole tree is going to die. When you look at a tree standing and you look at it, and one side of it's got 3-4 major branches that are dead, but the rest of the tree's doing fine. You can, if you spend some time, you can follow those branches and where that portion feeds down through the cambium, through the wood layers into the ground. You can probably find what the problem is. And most of the time, it's going to be scarring. There's going to be an open piece on that tree where bacteria and fungus got into the tree, caused some damage. And once that damage is caused, the tree will start to secrete fluids to protect itself, depending on what kind of bacteria or fungus that's attacking that portion of the tree.
Yeah.
Like Max just said, no more food and water is going to go up through that area. It'll start going out around it to protect itself and stay alive. But wherever that damaged area was feeding on the tree, the branches, you're going to see those branches die off.
But that's also the point at 94 miles an hour where the tree's going to break.
Snap.
It is. Yeah. That's what my arborist guy told me.
Yeah,
and this is Tree Talk with the Wizard.
I'm sorry, man. I just that just like totally.
Yeah.
It's just very intriguing to me.
No, it is. I love that's what it's all about.
That whole lumping together there.
Yeah.
Right? Or my mind is lumping it all together. You guys are all left in the dark, or I am, one or the other. No. When we start talking about mosses, right? Mushrooms, ferns, all these things that, are part of that
mycelium network.
Yeah, thank you. I always add an extra syllable to it, so I wasn't sure. Anyway, they all reproduce with spores. The other thing is, if you go into an area with Bigfoot, you're going to find moss and fern. Did I mention fern?
Definitely, yeah.
Like they tend to like that. So I don't know if there's a bigger Squatch.
Yeah, I don't know.
About, is there a connection between that and them? And I think there is.
There may be. There may be. I need to do more research on that. Maybe I should talk. I'm assuming that arborists and all this know about the mycelium network that you speak of.
It is.
I know it. I know. I've read some stuff on it, and it's not just science fiction. They did actually choose that for that show for some reason. They decide the Orville. Oh, and by the way, if any of you guys, you can find old episodes of the Orville, watch it. It's great. Seth, what's his name? Yeah, you know him.
That guy, I know.
That guy.
No, I do. I just can't think of his last name.
Yeah. But yeah. So that's really cool, and I think
Family Guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. But yeah, that's intriguing about being connected. And
you ever watch that movie Avatar?
Because Bigfoot do like ferns, man. I don't get that.
There's something about it, and I don't know if it's the ferns or if often you will find the pines, the ferns, the moss on the northeast side of the mountain. And the northeast side of the mountain gets darkest first, so it's easier for them to hide.
Yeah, the pines. I get the pines because that provides cover every part of the year.
My grandfather taught me when we were in the woods hunting. It was just rabbit hunting and stuff, and he's like, "What are you gonna do when you don't bring a compass in the woods?" We start going through all this. I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Look at the sun." He's trying to teach me some stuff. He's like, "Well, what if you can't see the sun? It's so dark and everything's gone wrong, and you have no stars or no way to figure anything out." What his point was is that look in the woods right now, Jonathan. And I'm looking. He's like, "What do you see?" And whatever. It's like finally gets to the point. He says, "You see how all the moss and all of the different types of funguses are growing on one side of the tree in the woods in here?" And once I started looking through the woods at all the hardwoods, I noticed one side's clean bark. The back side has all sorts of different types of moss and like powder fungus and different types of stuff. And he's like, "What? So which way do you think the sun's coming up?" And I'm like, "I see what you're getting at. So if the sun's coming up in the east and setting in the west, and be it where we live up here, the sun's arc would be over into this, for instance, for these purposes, be out over into here, and then late summer be up there. But for the most part, it's always going to be out in front of me, whether it be winter real low, summer, the sun's higher in the sky. Either way you want to look at it, on the north side of trees, you're going to see where the shade in the moisture.
Unless you're in Matt's swamp.
Yeah.
It seems to grow. Matt's swamp, it grows everywhere. So.
If it's growing right up all four sides, you better run for the hills.
Well, there's still that whole north side of the tree that you learn growing up that, you always hear of that. But, where you are, the whole ecliptic plane is going to be much different than where I am at Tampa. What, 28 degrees, I think we are.
Maybe that's what you're doing wrong, Matt.
Well,
maybe you're not a jinx. Maybe you should come up north.
I've even found with like hanging moss, you'll still find the most growth on the north side of a tree. even if it's like hanging moss, where hanging moss will hang all over the damn tree, but the most growth is going to be on the north side.
I remember hearing it as a directional sign. Like, it's either.
You mean the most growth of tree branches and leaves
and moss?
No, I'm talking about moss.
And moss. Oh, absolutely.
Will grow on one side of the tree.
Right.
And you can use that for navigation, but I have not found that to be true in Florida per se.
In your swamp, because the canopy is so tight that when you're talking about down on the ground, there's friggin' moss everywhere.
Right.
I mean, there really is. If you look at the picture where he was talking about that X that was white, every other tree is fully encrusted in moss at the base.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of trees.
Go ahead.
Matt, this is a question for you.
No.
Are those damn palmettos, are they as dangerous as they say? You can cut yourselves on them fucking things, can't you? Oh.
If you have to, if you get spooked and you start running, it'd cut you pretty bad. It'd be like running into a, not a moving blade, but it'd be as if someone was holding a machete out and you ran into it full speed. I mean, they do have an edge. Sharp? No, it's a solid edge, straight like a knife, but then on the back side it's curved, but the top side is flat.
Okay.
So we found some interesting stuff. The other thing I started to say it happened in the swamp when we were out exploring, Ron and I, with kayaks on the other side, is we did, and I was on a live. I was doing a live, and there's one point where we had parked the kayaks and we weren't on shore more than 5-10 minutes, and there was that quintessential, everyone says, 40-pound sandbag drop. And it was bizarre out there because we walked it. You all saw it. We were doing a live. It was muddy. There were some dry areas, but it was very tree oriented. Lots of stuff on the ground, lots of puddle on the ground. Anything that would hit like that would have made a splash or a distinct like tree fall sound. And there was none of that. It was a thump. And I had at least that happened because I
like
had
a giant monkey jumping out of a tree onto the ground, kind of.
Your mind goes there, and I looked up at Ron. And I said, "Do you hear that?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm on a live. It's on my channel, and I go back and I just aim that way, and then we start moving that way. But so between the breathing and the thump is pretty much all I had. But I have still not had. I just don't
shadow jet.
Well, that's floaters. I can explain that away.
I got Sasquatch running all over here.
What's really weird is I'm intrigued by this. I feel something's watching me comments.
Oh, so dude. You can tell something's watching you.
I have been at work.
The hair will raise right
walking
up your neck, man,
and standing in my queue because there's a conference room right like 20 feet from my desk, and I can see like two people sitting around that table. I have purposely turned around in my chair and started staring at them, and within a minute they look at me.
Absolutely.
Within a minute. And I've been doing this like everybody's all freaked out. Sorry if there's any coworkers.
That guy's weird.
I've actually because
he's the creepy old guy.
Creepy old guy.
He's been doing that for the last couple of years now, man.
Last couple of weeks, I've been doing, because as you all know, with my pine cone drop video or the acorn drop video, is I have situational awareness before I get in the woods. I practice situational awareness at home, and notice if I were in the woods and you closed my eyes and blindfolded me and brought me here and said I was in the woods, I would claim I'm getting rocks thrown at me. I would claim I hear footprints because we have possums in our backyard. If I camped out here, if I had blindfolded you and brought you in my backyard, you hear all the sounds you would hear in the green swamp. So I have programmed myself to that. I have also been doing self-studies of peripheral vision. And I always what was it? And I'm better than I thought. If I think I've seen something, I will look and see the bird. I will look and see the squirrel. I will look and see a cat or a squirrel.
Your peripheral vision supposed to pick up motion?
Yes.
Like
And
your peripheral out
yes.
here is
Yeah.
the
Yes.
best
Picks
part
up
of your
motion.
vision for picking up motion, right?
Yes. And what
Yeah.
I'm getting at is because I have situational awareness like that and I practice it, I know I can trust it when I'm in the green swamp.
Amen to that.
And
Yeah.
that I don't think a lot of people will test themselves like that. And I do
Gives you confidence.
It gives you confidence.
Gives you confidence, and you got to have confidence to stay cool.
Yeah, I don't want to second guess that I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye. I'm so good at it now that I would know. No, I will freeze, be quiet. I won't look at it, but I will wait until it happens again. If it doesn't happen within a minute, I move on. But that's kind of the little weird stuff I pick up on and do.
Yeah.
It's not very. I don't hear people talking about it.
It's hard not to be jumpy too, like and maybe it doesn't matter, but when you're out there and all of a sudden you hear, for instance, a loud pronounced knock, can you absorb that sound without showing any emotion or a twitch or like, whoa, what was that? Or can you absorb that just as cool?
It's hard, man.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's
do
hard.
not bother me.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, for as long as I've been going out there, man, I gotta admit, when I hear, especially if it sounds close, I mean, a knock is gonna startle me, man. You know, because I'm not expecting it. Even if I'm in the area, like I said, where I've had my encounter, I go there all the time. I camp there all the time, just in hopes. You know, and yeah, man, if I hear something out, you know, I've got to like really consciously try not to be jumpy in that area because that's where I had the encounter. So I have to consciously try not to be jumpy. But yeah, I mean, I am like zero when it comes to, you know, not being able to not react when I hear something.
Right.
You know, I hear some wood knocks, man, or some rock clacks or thumps like you're talking about, because I've heard those thumps, Matt. And my dog has heard the same thing too, man.
Yeah.
And the whistle, I mean, I get startled easily in that area. I do all the time. And I have to not do that, I think.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all. It didn't bother me at all. Ron and I both were as cool as we could be. Go ahead, Matt. You had your finger up.
Well, I just I think a response to it is good. In my opinion, I think when we start to pick up on the things that they do, if it is in fact them, there are a lot of researchers who are out in the woods who say that that makes them curious. And I happen to be one of those. I firmly believe that when we stop and investigate if they're making these things, they notice.
Yeah.
And when you do, you tend to get more. Like if you stop and examine, you know, glyphs, or it picks up. Is that because I noticed it? Like, you know, I see a lot of cars just like mine on the road now that I own it. You know?
Right. Right.
So I don't know if there's a real correlation there or.
I think there's a real correlation, because if you get sick and you have cancer, or like in my case, open heart surgery 8-9 years ago, every commercial on TV seems to be geared toward my health or what I'm going through personally, you know.
Or but like the truck that you buy. When you buy the truck, now all of a sudden you think everyone went out and bought one. It's only because you have that truck. Now you're seeing the same one everywhere.
And there is a name for that phenomena, and I forgot what it's called, but yeah.
I would like to know. I got to look that up.
That's envy something, but I can't say it. Here's a question. Anybody want to answer? This is my coworker from work.
Okay.
Sadiel. I have a question. Do you guys think I think he's saying there is more than one Bigfoot?
Absolutely.
Yes, I believe that there are more than one. Yes, probably more of them living in Florida and other parts of the United States.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. It's probably several species, but let's prove it's one first, and then we.
Well, I mean, there may be some. Yeah, let's prove one first before we go to subspecies. Yeah.
You know, before we start talking about the 6 different types, and these are like this, and those are like that, because I hear a lot of that.
Yeah, well, I think the general consensus is, you know, hundreds in Florida, hundreds in Georgia, hundreds in Yeah.
There's definitely multiple
Yeah.
wild people up in the woods, and what exactly they are yet we don't exactly
Well,
know. But
that's what
there
I was
is
saying
definitely
earlier. I think
something
it's
leaving
arrogant
tracks.
to think that we're the only bipedal species of hominin that has survived into the modern day, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
The,
would be
the
this would be
rule
the
of
first
thumb
time.
was there was at one point where the common rule was there were many different types of bipedal hominins sharing the planet at once.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's just down to us.
Well, because we
I'm not
killed them
sure
all
that's
off.
true. In fact, I know that's not true.
Right,
There's
I
at
do
least
too.
one other. And that's not even going into Russia and the Almas, who to me, the descriptions sound more like Neanderthals.
Right.
So,
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's definitely going to be amazing once we get some hard concrete evidence.
Well, I wouldn't say Neanderthal because there's no progmathism, like what you'd see. I mean, we're talking human-like faces. So
Right, but it could be Denisovan. It's another human species, I think.
yeah,
right, exactly.
And
I mean, that's my point.
Right.
I mean, maybe they're not. They could be Denisovans, or they could be Heidelberg. Well, I don't know if it could be Homo heidelbergensis, but I mean, if you think about it, Neanderthals and Denisovans, Neanderthals lasted until about 38,000 years ago, so they say.
Right.
Well, who's to say pockets couldn't have survived, or Denisovans, or I'm just saying, I think it's arrogance to think that we're the only ones, man, when we have evidence pointing that we're probably not.
The Smithsonian did a study a few years back, human DNA, and they found that it's human DNA, our like Homo sapien sapien DNA, Neanderthal, Denisovan or Denisovan, whatever you want to say it, and one other yet to be named.
Right.
Oh, the ghost lineage. I've heard of the ghost lineage.
I've never heard it called that.
That's what they refer to it as.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's this fourth human species, fourth recent human species,
right?
Yet to be named in that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, man. There's I just don't buy. And there's reasons for it, and you all know those reasons. Those who know me. Max, this is the first time I met you, and by the way, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We haven't been on before. I guess not.
What's that?
I said we haven't been on together before, but I guess not. I know I've watched your channel before, and
well, I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't buy it that we're the only bipedal species of hominin left on the planet. I just don't buy it. I've seen one that tells me that that's not true. Yeah. Now, if there's one other besides us, what's the possibility there could be another one besides us that's still around? I mean,
especially because no one's ever seen them at the airports. So when you start bringing in,
yeah,
when you
it's a big
these
world,
other continents, yeah,
but it is shrinking. So I mean,
this is true.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of area out there, though. I mean, there is, but I mean, it is shrinking. I mean, our technology and our population growth, I know it's nowhere as close yet, but eventually, we've got to be able to get satellite that can take pictures into areas that nobody's allowed to go because they're native tribes and you can't even walk on those islands or in that territory, or the deepest areas that nobody goes to. The private sector, somebody like Elon Musk. I mean, can you imagine if we could get with Elon Musk and say, Elon, will you help us out? Blast your satellite up there.
Find Bigfoot for us.
Money.
Well, they're doing it. They're doing it in archaeology.
Yeah.
With satellites photographing down and finding, tons of pyramids and ruins and what have you. So if they can do it with that, and if the military has the technology to pick out,
and
Osama
under the
bin Laden,
ground, I'm still not convinced that Sasquatch are not going under the ground. That's a big old rock we live on. There's
I
a
think
lot
in
of
areas where they can, they do. I think they make
right, exactly. I mean, look at the
think
Great
they
Lakes
make
over where
use of
you're at, Joe.
subterranean
That's the
stuff, but
largest salt mine, I think, in the world.
oh
which
yeah,
is
under
underneath
Lake
of,
Ontario.
like,
Yeah,
2/3 of the Great Lake region.
yeah,
It's a circle. It's humongous,
yeah.
and they've dug underneath of them Great Lakes, which the rock was turned to a much harder rock, which is the Great Lake Basin. That's why the water can stay in place. But underneath of that hard layer,
It's
they
salt.
are mining salt
Yeah, yeah.
in a vast
Yeah.
area. That
There's a guy that goes to the chats a lot, man. That's in my John Ayers. He works in those mines.
No
My buddy.
kidding. Isn't
He's a
that
friend of
something?
mine, John Ayers. He works in those salt mines, man.
Well,
And,
I mean,
yeah,
when you back up in time to where the population, and let's just say the United States, our country, our continent over here, when the population was just natives and some settlers coming in, the vast area available for something like Sasquatch
was a lot more.
so much more, right? So then once we started to populate the East Coast and become into more industrial and started mining into the ground for ore to make metals, at that time, now we're starting to dig mines. Prior to that, Sasquatch wouldn't have needed to go down in all these caves to hide. But as we start digging these mines and digging caves and taking earth out, we're making voids for them as we populate and abandon those mines. Because up here in the Adirondacks, there's iron ore mines all over the place.
Oh yeah, and there's cave systems too.
Yes.
Here where I'm at, there's not that much cave system here. There's not very much karst here in this area of New York. So I'm thinking they have to use other things. My big thing is, I've seen lots of really huge down trees, and I'm talking about Sasquatch ain't pushed these trees over. I don't care how big you are, and you could be 800 pounds and 7.5 foot tall, and you ain't gonna push over one of these trees. Storm damage could drop these trees, and I'm finding situations where I'm finding large trees that, of course, it could be two things, really, that have done some of the ones that I've found, a few instances, and has excavated underneath that tree root, that tree ball root system, and has excavated underneath it. Now, what else can do that? Bears can do that. And I do believe that bears in this area probably do that because they're not able to hibernate in caves. So they've got to have some other form of shelter. I think Sasquatch are doing that. But as far as the underground thing goes, yeah, I think they're going to use whatever underground systems they can to remain hidden and to take shelter in where that's available. Absolutely.
Good stuff, guys.
Fellas, I've got to work tomorrow. I think.
Yeah, me too.
Almost 2 a.m.
My wife just texted me and said, "How much longer?" And I went, "Oh crap! It's 2 a.m." And I wasn't even gonna. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate each and every one of you coming in and everyone coming in the chat. And it looks like we stayed about 22, 25 strong the whole night. So
how about that?
Fantastic.
Thank you for letting me pop on, dude.
So,
yeah, thanks, Matt. Really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to get you for a long time,
guys.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of your channel, so just keep it going. You got good stuff going.
Thank you,
Max.
You
what's
too,
up,
man?
We're gonna see you soon.
Yeah, I'm headed down for the 18th. I think is that when I'm meeting Ron.
I don't know.
And
I'm not giving dates.
Fine. The 18th, I'm meeting Ron, and then I'm gonna stay for.
Wow.
Then I'm gonna stay for a while. Probably a month or so.
Yeah, we had some talks, and Tactical Bigfoot Mike's coming down, and like I said, he's bringing a lady friend, and we're going to take a total flip from my perspective and try something new that they want to bring me in on. And we'll possibly run into you, but I will give you those dates where Mike's going to be here. So I don't know if you want any part of that or not. It's going to be a little upside down in my world. So I'm just going to be a listener.
I kind of like that stuff. If they would put up with me, I could meet up with you guys. But if not, that's all right too. Those are the folks I talked to the night I stayed in the Voorhees National Forest, right? Or State Forest.
Yeah, it's all and you're already approved. So if you want in, I'll give you those
like
dates.
a good time down there. That's awesome.
It was literally the National Forest.
Voorhees, huh? That's where you go in the forest and all you hear is.
I didn't hear that, but there was something big circling around all night. So,
yeah. Well, if you're standing by me, you'll probably hear my stomach go off at the most untimely moments, or my heart valve will be clicking. Someone goes, "What is that? Is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me again."
Always better when you have something to blame it on. You don't run screaming that way.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and helping me through my my depression of Bigfoot. But luckily, I'm in the place, and seriously, I do mean this. I'm in a place where I'm really just going out and enjoying it, and I got an eye open to the phenomenon and that sort of thing. But I'm really taking Mike's suggestion and documenting, hence the photo blind, the 270 blind I got, which is killer, by the way.
That's cool, man.
Documenting
really
the
cool.
animals and get the animals making some of these sounds and just start putting them in a data bank for all of us to have.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe while I'm doing that, something cool will happen when I least expect it. But I always still try to keep a camera running. So that's my new sign off. Go get out in the woods and keep your camera running, not in your pocket.
That's right. Got to be in it to win it.
Yeah,
it's always in my pocket or pointed at me.
All right. Well, Matt, thanks again. I've got to get going, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Max, good to hang out with you. Joe, good to hang out with you.
Good to see you again, man.
Nice chatting with
all
you guys.
Of you, a great weekend, and thank you to everybody in chat. It's been a good evening.
Yeah.
Time for Mr. Wizard to go lay down.
Okay.
Get some sleep here.
Well, I'm gonna hit in on the live, and those of you who want to hang for a second can. So, guys, thank you for tuning in, and I'm gonna end this.